Would you end a marriage over something that happened years ago? I have been thinking about this since Sunday night. I need some perspective. I know it's ancient history, but I feel so hurt. 7 years ago, when I was 21, I was dating my now husband, Paul, 31 at the time, for over a year. I was a university student and working too. Paul got a great job opportunity within his company but in Canada. He wanted me to leave with him, but I wanted to finish my studies first. We started dating long distance, but it was really hard. He was spoiling rotten every time he was visiting me. One time he booked a resort for a ski trip. I realized that I forgot to pack my BCP. I told Paul, he said it's not a big deal, and he went and bought condoms. We had a great vacation. We drank a lot, so a lot of it is a blur. I found out I got pregnant. I was feeling like an idiot because I should have been more careful and packed my BCP. Paul was so kind and said he will support me and will be there for me and the baby. I dropped out of school. With only 1 year to graduation, we had a courthouse wedding and I moved to Canada with him. He was wonderful with the baby. He is a great husband and helps around so much. We decided to have another baby when my firstborn was 3, but unfortunately it ended up being a stillborn. I couldn't carry a baby after that. We tried many times, but I ended up losing the baby every time. I have gone back to school now, different field, and doing fine. Last weekend, my husband and I were cuddling on the couch and watched Netflix. I was telling him how happy I am that we live in Canada now. We were talking about USA politics. He said yeah. Agreed. He then accidentally said, getting you pregnant was the smartest thing I have ever done. I said, well, technically I was the careless one who forgot to pack my BCP. He said, well, technically no. I threw them away and made you think that way. I never used condoms either and you were too drunk to care. I was floored. He said he wanted me to move and have a happy life. There was no future for me in a small city, where I used to live. You now have a house, husband, perfect kid and studying. I'm so disgusted by him. He tried to explain, but I'm not ready to talk to him. My sister thinks while what he did was wrong and stupid, it all worked out. She thinks it's stupid breaking a family over a dumb shit he did years ago. Move on and focus on future. I'm so full of rage and can't get over it. Is there a way to move on from this? Comments. Commenter 1. Alright, so first off, that's assault. You were under the impression that he used contraception and he didn't. It also doesn't surprise me that the old man wanted to impregnate and lock down the college girl. Reply. What irritates me is that he made the choice for me. What if I wanted to have kids later in life? What if I didn't want to move? All these years I thought he was the good guy who stepped up. Commenter 2. Exactly. You have every right to be angry. That doesn't mean breaking up your family is necessarily the best answer, but I certainly wouldn't trust this guy even if I stayed. I wonder what else he's lied about. Commenter 3. That's what would piss me off the most, acting like he's a good guy who stepped up all these years. Reply. All these years everyone, me included, praised him for being the man who stepped up. No, he was a man with an evil plan and just got what he wanted. Commenter 4. To me this is completely sociopathic. It's wild he thinks that is normal and just did that when you were drunk. It actually gives me the chills to think about. Commenter 4. I am not sure that would be something I could move past from. Please get yourself into therapy. And tell him to back off immediately. The more he pressures, the more likely you are to walk and frankly should walk away. He didn't just lie to you, he cheated you of a choice. He didn't trust you enough to love him enough to make this work without being forced to do so. How many other things have been manipulated force? This is not going to be an easy thing to work through, and if he is truly sorry, it is going to be him taking accountability, owning up to his deceit, making serious amends and never justifying his actions, no matter how well it has supposedly turned out. Your relationship was built on a lie. Reply. That's what I asked him. How many other disgusting evil plans have you hid from me, huh, Mr. Nice Guy? What else have you decided for me? He said that was his only secret and I'm blowing it out of proportion. Commenter 5. Oh wow, I am just speechless. First off, I am so sorry that happened to you. I really don't have any advice, but I'm sure that must be a scary thing to realize he derailed your life on purpose and forced you to make a huge change. I do know that communication after you get your thoughts together is an absolute must. Figure out everything that bothers you about what happened, manipulation, trust breaking, and vulnerability. Write it down if you must and make him understand that was not okay. I would hear him out only to get a grasp on how he feels about it now. Is this something he would do again if he had the chance, and is it something you can move forward from? Sorry, I never comment because I'm bad with words. I really hope you stay safe and this all works out for the better. Reply. He kept asking if I regret our child. If I regret our life. No I don't but I'm so full of rage now. I just can't explain. Commenter 6. Because he violated your body, lied to you and broke your trust. That's psychopathic behavior. How can you ever really trust him when the entire foundation of your relationship is built on a violation of trust? You need marriage counseling stat. Update. Thank you for your honest feedback. I really appreciate it. I had a long calm chat with my husband. He was surprised I was so worked up about it. He said he was an idiot but he wasn't malicious. He said you wanted to stay longer back home and he was tired of the long-distance relationship. He talked about how he was a dumb guy back then but he took responsibility and talked about the stuff we went through and how happy our current life is. He said he loves me and never meant to hurt me. He wanted a future with me and just acted impulsive. I told him about going to therapy. He said I should go because I never went after our losses and especially after losing our second baby. He also told me to talk to our family DR about depression. He thinks I'm so obsessed about the past and how things could have been different because I'm depressed after my losses. I'm gonna talk to our DR soon and ask around about a therapist who has experience with grief. At this point that's it. Thank you everyone. Comments. Commenter 1. So he's manipulating you again. Commenter 2. This is sad and she continues to believe him. Gaslight 101. This man is not sorry and should not be trusted. He needs therapy. Commenter 2. So he trapped you when there was a 10-year age gap in the relationship and you explicitly stated you didn't want kids at the time, then found a way to make it all seem like it was innocent and now you're thinking you're the problem. He made the decision for you by going behind your back, but you are obsessing over the past. Oh, he totally gaslit and manipulated you. This is so sad. Maybe a therapist will help you see what he did for what it actually was. Stories number 2. I, 24F, found hundreds of pics of my brother, 20M, on my boyfriend's, 24M, laptop. Can anyone please explain to me what's going on? I've been with my BF for a year. Our relationship was great and we honestly never had any serious problems. We both have full-time jobs and live together. He's good friends with my younger brother as well, mainly because of their shared interest in fitness, workouts etc. They hang out a good amount and go to the gym together. In hindsight, the fact that they're good friends makes it all the more creepier. Yesterday I was home alone and my BF was at work. I needed to print something out but my laptop wasn't working at all. My BF has several laptops and there's one in particular he never uses, at least I've never seen him use it. I thought it was some dusty old thing. I grabbed it and it was not shut down properly. It took me straight to the photo albums and there were hundreds of pics of my brother saved. Most were pulled from his social media accounts but there were also pics of him from his rugby team's website. WTF. This isn't even the worst. There was an album that only consisted of creep shots and videos, pics of him sleeping and even videos of him getting changed. You could clearly see in the vids that he wasn't aware of being recorded. What the fucking fuck? The last pic he uploaded was literally last week. This is so creepy, I don't even know what to say. There were also pics of someone's gym clothes and I'm assuming they're also my brother's. I'm confused, disgusted and shocked. What the hell is going on? When he came back from work I just went straight to sleep. I couldn't even face him. I honestly can't think of a good reason he would do this. I mean, straight guys don't usually do this, right? I don't know if I should even confront him about it. Should I ask what this whole thing is about? TLDR, boyfriend has tons of pics, videos of my brother saved on his old laptop. It's extremely creepy and I don't even know how to confront him about it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. He's clearly got a thing for your brother. It's not a healthy way of expressing it. Creepy as anything, but it's quite obvious. Confront him. Tell him how uncomfortable it makes you feel. Be prepared to break it off with him. Sorry you're having to deal with this. Reply. It's weird because I never even suspected that he has a thing for my brother. I would have noticed something like that. I honestly can't believe it. OOP added in the comments. I was talking to my brother the other day and he told me that his dirty clothes keep going missing and that he's convinced someone at the gym, or other places, keeps stealing it. I just found it kind of funny, weird at that time, but now I'm thinking it's way more fucked up. Top comments. Commenter 1. It's not just that your boyfriend is sexually attracted to your brother but that he's clearly obsessive. I'm a single guy and I will look at Facebook pictures of my crush but I don't save them to my computer. That's super creepy, and him taking pictures of your brother sleeping sounds criminal. This is a lot worse than your boyfriend being secretly gay. Commenter 2. Imo, saving them isn't so much the concern as is taking creep shots of him. That's a serious WTF. Commenter 3. I would take the laptop and show my brother, then go to the police to report it. Commenter 4. I don't recommend confronting him alone. This is some very unhealthy stuff and I feel like if you corner someone with this sort of thing he may react in a way that puts you in danger. Don't do that, even if you crave the dramatic airing. Commenter 5. Yes, I suspect the BF will react very poorly to OP confronting him. And this is a big revelation that could potentially bring to light something the BF wants to hide and is ashamed of. This could be really dangerous to OP. Update. Sorry to disappoint, but this isn't a positive update. I'm still trying to mentally process it all, hence the delayed post. I grabbed the laptop to take pics of the photo albums. I found way more stuff than I originally stumbled upon. A lot of commenters in the OP said that he probably used me to get closer to my brother. I didn't quite believe it at first, but they were right. While I was taking pics of the photo albums, I found more folders. He began saving these pics 4 to 5 months before we started dating, and my brother didn't even know him at that time. That realization sent chills down my spine. I also went on the internet, the bookmarks, the browsing history, it was all horrific. I'm not gonna elaborate because it's honestly sickening. It's clear that he has an obsession, my brother, and extremely violent and disturbing fantasies about him. I'm not talking about BDSM or bondage, although some of that was there too. This was absolutely messed up, scary stuff. I cannot believe that I was so clueless about everything. I went over to my brother's place and explained everything, showing him proof, on the actual laptop. He was shocked, creeped out of course, but didn't believe that my ex was behind this for different reasons. But he's not gay, he wouldn't do something like this, etc. I wanted to go to the police, but he completely refused. I explained that this isn't just a crush from a seemingly straight friend, this is an unhealthy, psychotic obsession. He completely denied that he was in danger and seemed embarrassed more than anything. I told him that X actually started creeping on him months before the relationship begun and took all these creep shots. Besides, the browsing history and bookmarks were specific to him. It would make anyone freak out. When I showed him the pics of his clothes, he was very confused and asked me why X would steal his dirty clothes, but he still didn't want to go to the police. My plan was actually to confront X in public, but my brother just straight away texted him to come over. Side note, he arrived super fast. I wonder what he was expecting. When X came, I showed him the laptop and asked him to explain. The entire situation was so bizarre. While I was talking, he seemed incredibly angry. I've never seen such a look on his face before. But then he calmed down and casually confessed to everything. He said that it was just a habit he got into and that he's truly sorry. At that point my brother said that this is probably a prank and that it wasn't funny, etc. I started crying a little and X rolled his eyes and told me to stop crying. He was so nonchalant and cold, I didn't even recognize him anymore. Then he said that he would immediately stop doing this if we kept this to ourselves. I think my brother finally believed him then, because he was absolutely dumbstruck. X said that he'd take down the cameras too and that we shouldn't make a big deal out of it. I asked him where the cameras are and he proceeded to show us. He probably thought he was a good guy for cooperating with us and that it would make the situation less creepy. Turns out, there was a camera in the shower as well. It was nauseating. The conversation that followed was extremely uncomfortable and X said some very provocative, inappropriate things. They ended up having a huge argument about the stolen clothes amongst other topics, and the rest was pretty awful. I eventually went to stay at a friend's place. I had already packed my stuff anyway. Later that night X texted me that I'm a bad person for invading his privacy and that I'm selfish, narcissistic, a bad human being, etc. He said that he's willing to forgive me though. Yeah, he really said that. I blocked his number. And on everywhere. A day later he came to me at work and I told him to stay away from me. He did that every day for 1 week, at different locations, until I seriously threatened him. He said that he never cared about me anyway and wished me luck for my future relationships. A couple of days ago my brother texted me, we haven't spoken at all since that day, and apologized, but he still refuses to address the elephant in the room. He's just pretending it never happened. I told him that X is clearly not stable. Why would you not notify the police? I honestly don't know what to do. Is there a way I can report this, just in case? And oh, by the way, it was his 21st birthday yesterday and I called him in the morning. He told me that he got a present from an unknown sender. I said that the sender is probably not unknown to us. Like, this is 100% my psycho ex. I just know it. As I said, this isn't a positive update. A lot of people seem to be concerned and that's the only reason I posted this. I just hope things don't get worse. TLDR confronted X about the contents of the laptop. He confessed and apologized. My brother doesn't want to talk about the situation at all and he chose not to go to the police. Top comments. Commenter 1. Girl. Take that whole laptop to the police. I am not kidding, this is very serious. If your brother ends up dead you will never forgive yourself. Commenter 2. This needs to be higher up. OP, this guy is showing serious signs of a true psychopath and, future, serial killer behavior. You are not safe, and neither is your brother. Take that laptop and go to the fucking police, now. Don't wait, don't worry about anything else. And check your brother's house for more cameras instantly, if the police doesn't. This is something you don't just stop doing. It's still happening now. You didn't notice before and you probably wouldn't have noticed it for months if you didn't look on the laptop. The way he talks to you and views the world is truly disturbing, and the way he told you to stop crying. That's psychopath behavior. How he went calm. Same thing. There is a real fucking chance he will try to be near to your brother in some other way, and he'll do something much worse to him than just pictures. Go to the police. Stay safe. Commenter 3. Your brother is an idiot. I hope he wises up before your ex stashes him in an oubliette and starts lowering lotion down to him in a basket. Final comments from Oop. I definitely won't post another update. This is the last one. And I forgot to mention it, but I have the laptop. He said that he was doing us a favor by letting us keep it. I mean, he didn't really put up a fight about it. Thanks for your concern either way. Stories number 3. I've been lying to my family for 25 years. I guess it's time for me to come clean, not because I feel too bad for what I've been doing, but because it's possible my eldest son is on to me. I have 3 kids and a wonderful wife. For more than 25 years our family has loved doing puzzles together. Since we started, I've done something that may seem unsavory to people that don't understand the joy of putting in that final piece. To ensure it was always me, whenever we start a new puzzle I take one of the pieces and hide it in a green sock that's at the bottom of my dresser. Whenever we get to the very end, we all, once again, lost a piece. We all search frantically until I'm the hero who finds it. Well, this past Sunday we got to completion once again, only this time there are 2 pieces missing. We begin searching. It may be my imagination, but my eldest son gave me a look. It was a half smirk. I think he's on to me. Derek, if you're reading this, I have more patience than you do. I'll hold my peace forever if I need to. Find yours first, and let's end this madness. Notable comments. We cut to Derek entering an absolutely ransacked room with you holding his piece in a plastic bag. Derek, Dad, I can explain. It's not mine. I'm holding it for a friend. I don't believe you. Who taught you to do this? Derek, I learned from watching you in Weave. Commenter, you know a lot of insurance plans cover family therapy. I was waiting for dude to say he was gay. Nope, not this guy. Instead he is a diabolical mastermind, whose son is testing his limits. This is a clear challenge to your role as puzzle savior. Commenter, never give up. Never surrender. Commenter, the battle of wills have begun. Update, a fellow Reddit user PM'd me an incredible idea. I'm going to try and contact the manufacturer and order his missing piece. I'm going to find it when it arrives, then find mine immediately after. I almost feel bad when I consider how truly confused he will be. Thank you. I don't think he's found this thread yet because he hasn't approached me about it, so this could still work. I'm so excited. This will go down in family history. Update 2. Well folks, I've been duped. I got up this morning, went into the kitchen to get some coffee, and as I walked past the puzzle I noticed that it had been completed. All pieces accounted for. I calmly and politely knocked on Derek's door and asked him about it. He denied knowing anything about it. Like, super convincing. I went back down to my bedroom, confused as ever, and just sat in bed with a blank stare. My wife asked me what's wrong, and I told her that the puzzle was completed and I have no idea how it got done. She literally started laughing like a damn hyena. Ivy always known about your dumb green sock. I'm in shock. I'm numb. Like a damn gut punch. So as it turns out, she's known what I've been doing for at least 10 years. She said she loved watching me walk around thinking I was some criminal mastermind tricking everyone, and that's why she never said anything. She wanted me to have my win, while she secretly laughed and had her own fun in secret. I don't even know what to say. I'm just processing everything. I cannot believe she's had this over me for so long and I literally had no idea. She noticed a decade ago that I had just one green sock, since I lost its pair forever ago, and immediately knew something was up with it since I refused to throw it away. I guess that makes sense. I'm an idiot. I've come to the realization that she's actually the master here, it's her house, and I should be thankful she lets me live in it. At least she promised not to tell the kids. Stories number 4. My GF leg locked me and now we have a child because of it. TLDR, literally forced a baby on me and made my life extremely difficult. I know it sounds stupid, but I have to finally get this off my chest. My son exists because his mother wrapped her legs around me during climax and caused me to come in her. After 3 years of being together and using the pull-out method, she decided she wanted to have children. So, she timed her ovulation, engaged me in sex, rode me, and when I was about to come she pressed her weight down on me while wrapping her arms and legs around me and would not get off. I tried to remove her from me, but she used every muscle she had to stay attached. We were literally fighting. There was nothing sexy or comical about the moment. When I finally pushed her off me, I asked her why she did it and she didn't answer. She just sat there on the floor staring into the carpet with a slight smirk on her face. It was an incredibly strange moment. So, I immediately went out and got a plan B, but she refused to take it. She said she didn't want to poison her body with it. She said she knew she wasn't pregnant, but a few weeks later she showed me a positive pregnancy test. I told her that we should abort. She refused to do that too. She said it wouldn't sit well in the eyes of God. By the way, this woman had punched me in the face several times, smoked weed, drank alcohol, had sex out of wedlock, lied, stole from stores, and her mom told her that she had an abortion before. All of a sudden she brought religion into it. I shit you not. All of this, and I had told her on several occasions that I never wanted children. I was the oldest of 9 children and spent most of my youth raising them. When she got pregnant she was 23 and I was 25. While pregnant she acted as if she was handicapped from month 1. She refused to do anything for herself, so I had to do it. After our son was born she became even worse. She said she had postpartum and refused to help with him. I changed all the diapers, did all the rocking to sleep, middle of the night care, and feedings. She said she would breastfeed but wanted to continue smoking weed, so she stopped breastfeeding after 2 weeks in. I raised her and our son for 2 years and couldn't take it anymore. I left. She made me pay dearly. She took me to court and told them I didn't take care of our son. She refused to let me see him before court, so to them I was an absent father. I paid $1,400 a month in support and was only making $39,000 a year. After winning child support she would leave him with me for most of the week. She told our friend group that I was gay, I abused her, and that she didn't want to leave our child around me because she feared I'd abuse him either physically or sexually. This hurts even still. She has since dragged me through the court system, tried to get restraining orders on me, verbally assaulted women I've dated, driven past my residence on several occasions, constantly talks bad about me in front of and to our son, and writes me some of the worst texts you'd ever want to read. Oh, and leaves me crazy voice texts. For years my life was hell until I finally just gave up and let her take our son to another state just so I can have some peace. Unfortunately, I'm Disney dad now who only gets him during summer vacation, but on the bright side I'll only have to deal with her for another 4 years. He's almost 14 now. Unfortunately, he's doing a lot of his growing up and I don't get to see it. I love him so much and only want what's best for him. I want to take him into my care, but I don't want him to feel like he was taken away from his mom before he's ready. He's hinted at coming to move with me but also told me she bribes him. She offers him extra gifts and money to give her information about me. Sadly, he said she'll get really upset with him if he doesn't give her information or says he doesn't know. By the way, I knew she had anger issues. However, I thought she'd grow out of them with time and maturity. I was young and dumb thinking people could change for love. I was wildly wrong. Anywho, it's a huge relief to confess this. Thanks for attending my TED Talk. Stories number 5. Aita for not allowing my fiancé's BF to come to our wedding. My fiancé and I have been together just under 6 years, dated 3, engaged 2.5. Great relationship relatively, our friends and family all get along well with the other person, no issues at all. Except for one of my partner's best friends. Said best friend has never liked me and seemingly had it out for me the entire time. She basically ignores my existence and refuses to speak or be cordial to me, but as soon as she sees my partner, she yells and hugs him saying, "Hey best friend," while ignoring me even though I'm right next to him. I told him about it and how it made me feel, and at first it went unaddressed 2 to 3 more times because he needed proof to make sure there was an issue. After said proof was present he spoke to her about it and she got a little better, but only around groups of people and like twice. She indicated she didn't have a problem with me, so he felt I was the only one having an issue and I need to just approach her and talk it out. I told him I'm not doing that cause she isn't my friend and he needs to do so. A couple of weeks ago we attended a mutual friend's party. I attempted to make eye contact and say hello 2 to 3 times but she avoided me and refused to look at me the whole time. My fiancé noticed because it was so blatant. I don't want her respect, don't need her to like me, and don't honestly want her around at all, I just want her to have basic human decency. This situation has caused me to rethink my relationship and end it because I feel my fiancé is in the wrong for engaging with her after seeing how she completely disregards me. I think now, but mostly after marriage we're supposed to be a unit and I wouldn't allow this behavior from a friend. I've been feeling like an asshole because we spent the better half of a nice drunken evening arguing about this, and I told him she can't come to our wedding, as I won't have someone who can't seem to stand me near me. Aita for telling my fiancé she can't come to our wedding. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA, but I am surprised that you decided to marry someone who allows such behavior toward you. Reply. I don't want to ruin what has otherwise been the healthiest and best relationship in my life, but I've been thinking on it hard because where are the boundaries? Commenter 2. She's in love with your man, upset that he's with you and pretending like you don't exist makes her feel better. She won't say or do anything to make him upset. She's saying she has no problem with you is because the problem isn't with you, technically it's with him. She was hoping for her romantic movie moment when the male BSF finally realizes and falls for his female BSF. Reply. To be honest, this what my best friend and a select few PPL I told about this a while ago. There were times on social media where she indicated she was the ideal woman for him, that he needs someone like her. Commenter 3. NTA for not allowing the BFF to come to the wedding, but you are the a-hole for still wanting to marry the guy. Your man doesn't respect you, or he would have put his foot down with the BFF after he saw the way she continued to disrespect you after he said something to her. Do you honestly think just by not inviting her to the wedding will change anything? She's still going to be a pain in the butt after you get married. Then there will be more hoops to go through when you end up divorcing because of her. Reply. Wow, that was an unexpected twist, lol. You're right though. I've been seriously evaluating our relationship and how this one thing is jeopardizing it. I don't want to give it up, but it does come across as disrespectful and just not presenting as a unified front. Update. Aita for not allowing my fiancé's BF come to our wedding. Original BLUF. I told my fiancé his best friend couldn't come to our wedding. She pretends I don't exist and he does nothing to address it. The comments on my original post opened my eyes and made me realize that despite this being the healthiest relationship I've been in, it doesn't mean it's actually healthy. We've had a couple of conversations surrounding this issue, which mostly consisted of me saying it bothered me and him saying I was the only one who cared. A couple of things helped me realize my breaking point. I asked him if he would be okay with our daughter's future partner treating them like this, to which he got flustered, shut down, and said he didn't want to talk about it. I left it alone. He said he didn't want to end his friendship or do anything to jeopardize it because, what if we break up? This made me realize he would not protect me as his wife, since he didn't as his girlfriend. The final straw was when I expressed how much it bothered me that he wanted me to blow this off since we, as in me and the best friend, only see each other 4 to 6 times a year, and he said, directly quoted, because this is burned into my brain, I know the way she treats you is garbage, but you're allowing one person to dictate our relationship. It could be worse. She could be more active. There are worse ways to meddle, people text and lie, and all that to break relationships up. The first line broke my heart and told me all I needed to know. I had to truck through a couple more months of pre-planned and paid for social engagements, but I closed the curtain on any chance of healing this relationship the moment those words left his mouth. Thank you everyone for the advice, common sense, knocking me upside my head, and similar related experiences and outcomes. I'm gonna go to therapy and redefine what a healthy, balanced, and communicative relationship is. Edit. The pre-planned events aren't wedding engagement related. We share a home and need to divide assets, pets, and a custody schedule. Additionally, we have vacations, planned with a mutually shared friend group. BF is not part of that group. I appreciate the concerns, but I need to plan things out a little more. There will be no second chance. To those that keep saying they're fucking probably. When I first brought this up, he became stressed and kept emphasizing how I thought he was fucking his best friend and didn't address the issue that was brought up. I don't care to know or confirm. Edit 2, we are not getting married, continuing our relationship. For those thinking I'm using the pre-planned events to justify holding out, absolutely fucking not. Our relationship was dead the moment he admitted she treated me like garbage, and basically shrugged it off. As a note, I never asked him to cut anyone off, out of his life. I simply asked for basic greetings and acknowledgement during the rare encounters with his BFF. This hasn't happened, aside from a couple of begrudging times. Final edit, I tried asking him the, what would you tell your daughter to do, question. He answered that if she loved her partner, she shouldn't care about outside PPL. Additionally, he said he was tired of talking about it, he feels he's done all he can, and he doesn't want us, me, to bring her up because he's tired of talking about it. I told him our relationship is done, in September, when our lease is up, etc., apologized for bringing it up, and asked if he wanted to be alone for the evening. Thank you everyone for helping me realize I wasn't asking for too much. I really thought he was the one for me, but I wasn't thinking straight. I'm tired and I want better for myself. I'm okay with being alone. I appreciate you all, have a good night. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I know the way she treats you is garbage, but you're allowing one person to dictate our relationship. He is the one doing that. Commenter 2. It could be worse. She could be more active, she hasn't actually said she wanted to sleep with him yet. Commenter 3. She doesn't have to say that, they probably did it and not once. That's why she is so confident about her role in his life. Commenter 4. He said he didn't want to end his friendship or do anything to jeopardize it because, what if we break up? This made me realize he would not protect me as his wife. Yep, the friend comes before you. Commenter 5. Don't worry about the planned and prepaid events. Get out. Now. The relationship is dead, don't wait until the stench kills everyone around you. If the money is lost no matter what, skip on out and give yourself the gift of more time to heal and deal. Good luck, OP. You can do this. Commenter 6. Why do you have to truck through any pre-planned events? Honey, nothing is worth losing the time and space you will gain by bowing out now. He's made clear that you are second, at best, in his life. Losing money is not fun, but losing time, the time you could be using to heal, is the best gift you can give yourself. Be kind to yourself first. New update. Aita for not allowing my finances BFF attend our wedding. Original BLUF. I told my fiancé his best friend can't come to our wedding. She pretends I don't exist and he does nothing to address it. My ex-fiancé did begin to make an effort to include me and make sure I was addressed during group events, even though we'd already separated. Throughout the summer we had many conversations, not in hopes of reconciling, but mostly to make sure he truly understood the cause of our breakup. While drunk he apologized for his messy and toxic friends, said he needed to reevaluate his friendships and apologized for bringing them into my life. He changed his tune in later sober convos. I was met with continued excuses and my feelings being brushed off. This isn't that big of a deal, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I have friends that have done worse. The explanation insight I received is that the best friend was a side piece, knowingly, for like 7 to 10 years, guy had a baby, and brought his baby mother a house, car, and basically got married, all while stringing the friend along, and as a result the BFF has since always asserted herself as being the most important woman in her male friends' lives. All in all, just going to go to therapy, heal some shit, and move on. I'm starting piano lessons soon, and taking a language class to pass my free time. Also focusing on cooking again and moving my body. I'm going to lose about 40 to 50 pounds. Thanks everyone for commenting, offering solutions and alternative POV, including those who felt I was making a big deal out of nothing and that I was trying to make her be friends with me. Never wanted that. I felt crazy for a while, but I'm thankful for the random strangers on Reddit confirming I'm not. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I kept up with your post and that man's an idiot. Threw everything away for a friend like that. To me there's more than what he's saying and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up together. But it's done now, he's not your problem, he's hers. Onward and upward. Commenter 2. I'm so glad you broke up with him. Now go and see. Stop communicating. You only have to explain once why you dumped him. If he doesn't understand, that isn't your problem. And she wants to be the most important woman in her guy friends' lives. OMG LMAO. They're either all going to be single or they're going to drop her one by one as they get girlfriends and wives. Commenter 3. God, that friend sounds horrible. Knowingly help someone cheat for a freaking decade, then decide she has to be the most important woman in every male friend's life. Who the F would want someone like that in their life? Enjoy your life without them in it. Reply. That's what I said, but I minded my business. Apparently the side piece relationship, she was just the other woman technically, but he wasn't actually dating anyone. So I don't care if it's cheating, but still, I wouldn't want that for myself. No self-respect. Stories number 6. Aita for telling a woman her child is welcome in my home, but she isn't, because of her criminal record. My husband, 28M, and I, 27F, have a 5-year-old son, who just started kindergarten this past fall. He has met a boy named Sam, who he has decided is his best friend. My son has had a lot of playdates in the past, because we tried hard to socialize him well from a young age. He has been asking if his friend Sam can come over for a playdate. Sure, no problem. I wrote a note with my name and number for Sam to give to his mom. I get a Facebook friend request from Sam's mom, who appears to be a methany. I work in healthcare, and recognized the sores on her face from picking. It's pretty obvious from her Facebook that she is on some kind of drugs, and maybe has mental health issues. Out of curiosity I looked up her name in our county's jail view record, and yup, long history. Drug possession, fraud, prostitution, theft, battery, obstruction of justice. It's not great. Anyways, I didn't want to let who his mom is get in the way of our kids playing together. But there was no way in hell I'd let my son go over to their house for a playdate, despite her offering. I played it off as me being overprotective and him being my only child, to not offend her. She laughed, and said if you have more you'll learn to be less overprotective. She has 5 kids, but agreed to a playdate at my house. The park was also an option, but she said my house was fine. The weather is very cold here right now, so indoors over the park makes sense. Sunday comes over, I let the boy in. I mentioned she could come back in a few hours to pick him up. Whenever works for her, and I'd be sure to feed them both lunch. I asked if he has any food allergies, she says no. But she insisted on staying. I tried to make up a silly excuse, said I had a headache and would watch the boys diligently, but that I'm not really in the mood to hang out. She insisted that it would be great for us to get to know each other, since the boys were out of earshot, already in the playroom. I stepped outside and quietly told her that I had looked up her criminal record, and I just don't feel comfortable having someone in my home with theft charges and an obvious drug problem. I said if that's a problem we could just meet at the park from then on, but the boys get along so I hope it's not a problem. I admit I was maybe a bit harsh and to the point. She kind of yelled at me and said I think that I'm better than her, which maybe I do, and that I don't know anything. She stormed off, her son still in the house. I checked with the kids to make sure they didn't hear anything. When she came back she just honked her horn and refused to come to the door. My husband kind of thinks I'm an asshole, he's always been very gentle and kind. He thinks I should have just watched her like a hawk. I told him I don't want to forcefully subject myself to that kind of person, and I shouldn't have to be on guard about some crackhead stealing our stuff. Stories number 7. Aita for refusing to share my grandmother's secret recipe with my sister-in-law. I, 32F, have a special cake recipe that's been in my family for generations. My grandmother taught it to me when I was a kid, and it's never been written down, just passed down through practice. It's something really sentimental to me. Recently, my sister-in-law, 35F, asked for the recipe because she wanted to make it for my brother's birthday. I told her I wasn't comfortable sharing it since it's a family tradition that has always stayed within our immediate family. She got upset and said that since she's married to my brother, she is family and should have the right to it. I tried to explain that it wasn't personal, just something I wanted to keep within the family as it has always been. But she got frustrated and said I was being selfish. Later, my brother texted me, saying I should just give it to her to avoid drama, but my mom told me I had every right to keep it private. Now I'm feeling guilty. Was I being too stubborn? Stories number 8. Did my husband end our marriage? Hello everyone. Throwaway account to keep this anonymous for my own peace of mind. I have come here to get some advice and perspective and to see if anyone has gone through the same and how they dealt with it. I am married, almost 5 years now with a 15-year age gap. We have 2 kids. I come from a culture where, once you're married, that's it, it is frowned upon to divorce as, you picked him, kind of thing. However, the more stories I hear, the more I realize that people get divorced for far less. The problem is my husband has shown many times that he does not respect me. He criticizes me, ignores me, shouts at me and so on. From not visiting me in the maternity hospital to taking my keys away or slamming his hands at a wall or an object at a wall and telling me I should be thankful it wasn't my face. He had issues with alcohol and drugs at the time, and I tried to help in any way I can. I offered counseling, couples or alone, I offered to find a hobby we can do together instead of the activities he was participating in and so on. We had many talks but each time the vicious circle began again. I told him several times that one day, my patience will burst and I will leave, not as a threat, but because I'm only human and I can only take so much. Eventually, something in my head snapped and I no longer cared when he got home or if he even came home. After a month of me not showing any care, while I was secretly planning my exit, he, within 24 hours became the husband I've been asking him to be all those years. Which should be great, right? Well, here's the issue, it's been 6 months since then, he still makes snarky comments and criticizes me, and even manages to always put a damper on things on days we have a birthday party or event of any kind he makes it about him. But, he has started helping more around the house, still not enough but better than before, he doesn't drink or take drugs either, and I'm proud. However, I cannot get back that love I felt for him before I snapped. I've tried so hard to love him again the same way but I feel the resentment and irritation is overflowing even though he's doing better. I don't know what to do. I can't talk to him about it because he gets defensive over everything, and my family haven't given a lot of good advice. So Reddit, any advice or even understanding of what I'm going through and if this lack of emotion will ever be more again? Or have I been hurt one too many times by this person? Sorry for the long post and thank you in advance for your suggestions. Stories number 9. Aita for telling my dad he chose between me and his fiancé when he prioritized her surgery over mine. I, 17F, have had a rocky relationship with my dad. My parents married after I was born, hoping to provide a stable family for me, but they divorced when I was 11 after my dad went to rehab, and things only worsened from there. During rehab, he met his current fiancée, and they later had a kid, 6F. Since then, my dad has been mostly absent from my life. Whenever I have important events, he either has an excuse or doesn't show. I'd estimate he's been present for less than half of my events since their divorce. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with scoliosis, and initially, surgery wasn't needed. However, my condition got worse, and I was finally scheduled for surgery on 11/20 of this year. I told my dad about it months ago, expressing how much I needed his support this time, and he promised he'd be there. But later, he texted to say he'd planned a vacation that would keep him away until mid-December, just as my recovery period would be ending. It broke my heart, but I accepted it. Then, 2 hurricanes hit his vacation spot, and he told me he'd make my surgery. I felt a glimmer of hope. But then, just a week before my surgery, he texted again saying his fiancée's lung cancer surgery had been scheduled for the same day, a few hours before mine, at a hospital 30 minutes away. He said he might not make it to my surgery, but with him, might not usually means won't. He added that this wasn't about who he loved more. That message shattered me. I realized that no matter how much I hoped, he might never give me the attention and support I needed. I broke down on my kitchen floor that day. After sitting with my feelings, I texted him to tell him how deeply his actions hurt me. I said it wasn't only about love but about showing care, and that he'd given me hope only to let me down again. I questioned if his fiancée's surgery had really been scheduled last minute, or if he had known earlier but hadn't told me. I asked him to show he was my dad through his actions, not just his words. He responded, insisting the surgery was only scheduled the day he'd told me. But because he's lied in the past to save face, I reached out to someone who might know the truth. I then sent a follow-up message, clarifying that my frustration wasn't with his fiancée, it was with his ongoing absence and lack of support. I said that even if his reasons were genuine, he could have at least shown some empathy. I told him I hoped he'd be a better father for my half-sister than he has been for me. In a final message, I made it clear that I was done putting in all the effort to maintain our relationship on my own. I told him that if he wanted to be my dad, I would gladly be his daughter, but if he chose not to, I would be fine with that too. He hasn't responded, and honestly, I prefer he sit with what I've said. For once, I hope he really thinks about his actions and the impact they've had on me. Comments. Commenter 1. Girl, your father hasn't shown up for you your entire life. What makes you think he is going to do it now, and furthermore, why do you allow him to have that power over you? He is not your father, he is the male who impregnated your mother. Stop elevating him to father status. This man is going to support the person who he is making his life with, not the child he walked away from years ago. He doesn't prioritize you, and he never will, no matter what words he uses or promises he makes. Good luck with your surgery and focus on your recovery. Reply, thank you I will. Commenter 2. Yes, OP. I'm sure you'll find someone who will love you more than anyone else and will prioritize you. Don't waste your time on this dirtbag. He's not a father, he's just a sperm donor. And if it helps, I will be praying for you. I hope you have successful surgery and a quick recovery. Hugs from your Reddit sister. Commenter 3. Lung cancer surgery for fiancé Trump's daughter who still has mom's scoliosis surgery, but otherwise, from what you've said about his reliability, NTA. Maybe send fiancé a note wishing her luck, and if it was a lie, shirt will hit the fan. And best wishes to you for a speedy recovery. Commenter 4. No way. If I had to choose between my daughter and husband I would 100% choose my daughter. Why? My husband is an adult. Me being at the hospital while he had surgery would not change the outcome of the surgery, so the severity does not matter. Both surgeries could go wrong. If I had to choose whose smile I would see for the last time, it's my daughter's. I love my husband very much, he is the love of my life. But it cannot be compared to how I feel about my daughter. Would I sacrifice my own life to save my husband? I don't know. Would I sacrifice my own life to save my daughter's life? Yes, without any doubt, just let me know where to sign and it's done. Commenter 5. Super shitty to think about, but OP had a parent present that would be able to make decisions should they be needed. Fiancé presumably has OP's dad as her decision maker should that be needed. The decision maker needs to be present if at all possible. Dad is awful for prioritizing a vacation over his kid's surgery. However, if he's the decision maker for his partner with cancer, that surgery needs to be prioritized, and he needs to be present. Update. Hey guys, been a while. Thanks for your love. I've been dragging my feet on an update but here it is. Surgery recovery has been great. I've been in therapy since 12, so my therapist knows everything about my dad. Can I just say it's weird seeing my story posted on other apps with Subway Surfers and Woodwork? Love that people think my dad is a sperm donor and not a dad across all platforms. Senior night is on Valentine's Day, which I've told him weeks in advance, saying, games start at 7 usually, but I would get at the school 30 minutes early since we will probably do it before the game. I texted his mom, Mama, to ask him if he was going, and he texted her, oh, I never got a date, she doesn't tell me anything, bullsh, t. I told her I'll go and see if he doesn't go, and I will go LC if he does go. If he wants to know, he can fucking ask and write it in his calendar. I told my mom to stop staying neutral and tell me why he acts like this. The relationship is almost ruined, so there is no point in her trying to save it. He likes to play victim, try to make it sound like my mom doesn't want him around, uses it as an excuse to make him look like a good guy. I've seen text messages when I was younger of my mom trying to get my dad to make an effort. I showed her the first post, so I'll send her this one too. Hi mom, the Kindle had screenshots of some convos Eily. I saw them in August when I found it, so I knew for a while. I see my mom in a new light now. She will be walking me down the aisle and my first dance. She sacrificed so much of herself for me. She is not only mom but my dad. For non-Americans, senior night usually involves seniors and chosen people to walk them across the floor. My dad walked me down for my fall senior night, but he will not be one of my people this Friday. I am desperate to keep contact with my sister. I know Mama will help me with that. I know that if Fiancé and Dad break up, he will do the same thing to my sister. Friday came and passed. My dad got PSSY when he realized I didn't want him to walk me across the gym floor. He along with Mama and my sister left during halftime. We did the walk before the varsity game, and pep band can't leave the stands until third, same as marching band, plus Mama has been to previous basketball games along with football games. I left Dad a long voicemail message Friday for leaving, especially since my sister begged to see me and he refused her. I told Mama I was disappointed that she left when she knew what happens at games. Monday I finally sent him boundaries and blocked him. I know I'm going to cry later, this is going to be hard for me. Thanks for your support, it means a lot to me throughout this journey. Comments. Commenter 1. Hi, I'm you 30 years in the future. He doesn't change. For your own well-being, move on with your life without him in it. Commenter 2. Hell, I'm 30 now. I can say the same thing. He won't change. He'll call you once, maybe twice a year when it's convenient for him. Maybe send gifts that show how much he doesn't know who you are and what interests you, maybe not. Send you the occasional pity party call or text. Call me. We don't talk enough. Etc. Honestly, it's easier if he just forgets you exist and doesn't reach out at all. Easier to not get hopes up. Your mom did the same thing mine did. He doesn't see who he's missing out on knowing, watching you grow, learn, and succeed in life. Or being there to support you when you fall ain't worth the heartache trying to chase what ain't there. Stories number 10. Wife cheated and my life unraveled. A few years ago, my 39M wife, 39F, let me know she had been cheating on me for a few years off and on. This was devastating. We had been together for 18 years. Her primary grievance was that we weren't having enough sex. I tried to make it work, and we lasted 2 more years before we finally called it quits. During a discussion near the end where we were talking about our relationship, and how it was falling apart, I suggested we see a couples therapist. Even though we were both pretty well resolved in ending things, I felt it could change our situation from a 0% chance to a 1% chance. We saw a therapist together a few times. As part of that process, I got a brain scan to investigate why my libido might be lower than average. The scans revealed that a concussion early in life had left behind evidence of moderate brain damage and possible atrophy. Luckily, the prognosis is okay. So far it's been alright, and I've been working with a doctor to try and treat it. No conclusions from the scan about my libido other than brain damage might cause that. Some blood work showed a few more actionable things we've been working on, so that's good at least. The worst thing that came out of the scan results and the prognosis was that I felt so scared, and I knew I couldn't go to my partner with those feelings, so I just cried. I sat in my office and cried about it. This was a damning piece of evidence that our relationship was over. I didn't trust her. A concept I learned about in therapy, I saw a therapist on my own, starting shortly after she told me about the affair, is the Sound Relationship House, from the Gottman Institute. The metaphor is that a relationship is like a house, you build it floor by floor, and the whole thing is held up by 2 pillars, trust and commitment. Well, she wasn't committed to me, and I didn't trust her, so the whole thing fell over. A couple weeks after the scan results, we had our final session with our couples counselor where we resolved to end our marriage. The next month after the scan and our counseling sessions, she moved out and it was really over. 2 weeks after she moved out, the company I was working for, and had helped found and run for 4 years, was shut down by the parent company. I lost my job. I was working with a therapist at the time, and he warned me, there's a chance you may become unmoored. Floating without direction, and he was totally right. I feel like I'm adrift at sea most days. I don't really have a lot of meaningful connections anymore. I don't get along well with my family, and they're on the other side of the continent. I have a couple close friends that I'm grateful for. I had a contract gig for a bit, but have not sought out another one. After selling the house, and collecting unemployment for the layoff, I haven't had to work for a bit. I'm very grateful and privileged to be in that position. But the emotional toll of these rapid-fire traumatic events has left me completely unmotivated and unraveled emotionally. There is so much pain and sadness from ending a relationship that spanned almost 2 decades. The most poignant example I think was when I was emptying the house. She had left behind some stuff for me to throw out. One thing was a box filled with every card I had ever given her for a birthday, anniversary, Christmas or any occasion. I always took time to write something meaningful on them, to personalize them. And to draw dicks on them to make her laugh. I took a look and they went all the way back to the start of the relationship. She saved them all. Only to leave them here for me to put in a dumpster. I never felt as alone as I did when I was standing in the totally empty house that we had shared. The way my footsteps echoed made me cry very hard. I sat on the floor of the kitchen and just cried. Now that the dust has settled after these major life upheavals, I'm left with the feeling of just being a total loser. Lost some of my health, lost my marriage, lost my job. And of course waves of sadness over what could have been knock me over every once in a while. But I recognize these feelings and cry about it, then keep going. I don't know what's next for me. I'll probably get another contract gig and just keep plowing forward. It's been almost 2 years since we broke up, and I've sometimes thought about dating. I got as far as making a Hinge account, and when it asked for photos of myself I just closed the app and haven't gone back. My self-image is in shambles still, so maybe I'm not ready for that yet. My biggest takeaway from all of this is that therapy rules. It rules so hard and everyone should do it. It really requires you put your entire self into it. I did everything the therapist asked, read every book, and did every exercise. As a result, I do feel hope for the future. I know I'm low right now, but I'll bounce back eventually. The reason for that optimism is because of what I learned in therapy. I don't really know why I'm writing this here. I'm a guy and I've been crying a lot, so I guess it fits. If anyone can relate to the rambling stuff I've written, then my sincere advice is to get a good therapist. Stories number 11. GF got really mad that we ran into people in a band that she doesn't and now I'm thinking of ending things due to her behavior. I, 27M, have been with my GF, 27F, for almost 3 years. This feels dumb even typing it out. TLDR at the end. Tonight was supposed to be a great night. A band that my GF really loves was on tour. I spent hundreds of dollars on tickets and a hotel and we drove 3 hours to this show, all for it to get spoiled. We went to the bar to get a drink and someone recognized me and said hi. I introduced my GF and we made small talk and went our separate ways. Then we were talking about it and I told her they were in this band that she hates. It's already been previously established that I like the band, she really doesn't, and she always goes on a rant about them and insults them anytime they are brought up. They're a decently big band, like over 1 million streams on Spotify anyway. Her reasons for not liking them are strictly about the music, not any controversies or anything personal. I thought we would share a laugh over the fact that she finally met people in this band that she hates and they turned out to be pleasant people who are also fans of one of her favorite bands. Nope. She was pissed for some reason and started ranting about how she hates them and their loser fans. I told her I can't control who I run into in public and that it's kind of silly for her to get so worked up over it. Then she angrily went off to get another beer. I went over to her to stand next to her in line and she yelled, "Get away from me," in front of a bunch of people. I basically decided at that point that this was the last straw. We have broken up previously over her yelling at me in public and there have been more times than I can count where I take her to some event or on a trip and I regret taking her because it is impossible for me to predict what she is going to get mad at me about next. Of course it is my fault every time and even if I apologize it will still be held against me forever. She came back all apologetic and we ended up having a good night, and I thought it was behind us. Then we got back to the hotel and I was like, "Hey, I have a video to show you," and then she was like, "It better not be that fucking band," and proceeded to go on a 5-minute uninterrupted rant about them again while insulting them and people who like them, so, me. And I was just kind of taken aback. I said to her, "All I said was, I have a video to show you," and then you go on that rant. That's kind of nuts. This turned into like 15 minutes of arguing. And she's blaming me for taking it personally and making a bigger thing out of it than it is. Now she's asleep and I'm still awake in bed typing this out, planning on breaking things off tomorrow once I have made it home safely. TLDR, my GF and I rant into acquaintances of mine that are in a band that she hates. This apparently angered her so much she went on many rants and yelled, "Get away from me," in public, which pretty much spoiled an evening that I paid hundreds of dollars for, and I think I'm breaking up with her tomorrow. Am I overreacting? Edit. Thank you guys for sharing your opinions and letting me vent. It's very late but I can't sleep and really needed this outlet. In just the last 3 weeks I've lost my job and a family member. Losing my girlfriend too just feels like another kick in the balls, but I worry it may hurt me more to stay with her. I hate to be all, poor me, but things have been rough and I have a hard time sharing stuff like this with people that I know, so I appreciate all of you. Update, I feel like I have made a terrible mistake. I am crushed. It's like I ripped my own heart out. I was teetering on the edge of a hole and I pushed myself in toward rock bottom, and now I'm wondering why I did this to myself. I want to take it back but I can't. It was a long car ride back. She tried patching things up this morning. She could definitely tell something was up and was adamant that we use the 3-hour drive to have a talk and try to fix things. She was optimistic even. She still blamed the band for ruining the night, but admitted that her yelling at me was not okay. I told her that this one night was not even the big issue, it's the pattern that's the issue. I am hurting badly and I don't feel supported at all, and it hurts me to see her upset, and it feels like I can't make her happy no matter what I do, which just makes me feel even worse, and I just can't do it anymore. I brought up how we'd broken up before, and when we got back together we agreed to handle things differently, but now it feels like we're just right back where we were, only now I'm even lower than I was then. She made it seem like she is fine with how things are going. She just gets jealous and angry, no big deal. And it was kind of strange because I poured my heart out and then she was quiet for like 20 minutes. Then I said it was strange that she wants us to fix it, but isn't saying anything about how we might do that. She said, "Well, it seems like you already made up your mind. And I can't change who I am." And then she said if I really loved her and had a passion for her that I would make us do the work to stay together and wouldn't give up. Guys, I can't tell you how many times we fought and then had conversations that, at the time seemed productive, about how we can be better moving forward, which ended up changing absolutely nothing. I tried to make it work and it took a long time for me to give up. She also asked if I found someone else, because this was so sudden and out of nowhere, and I'm like, it's not out of nowhere, we fight all the time and I've been telling you that I don't feel loved. We shifted gears eventually and reminisced about the good times. Which I guess to her was misleading because then she seemed to think we weren't breaking up, and that's when I said, I think we are, I don't know what else to do. It just kind of spilled out of me and she was shocked and angry, and then she didn't want to talk anymore, and now she is gone and I am in shambles. I feel really bad, and it hurts even more knowing she probably feels as bad as I do right now, maybe even worse. I feel like maybe if I were in a better state of mind I would not have done this. But I've been so down that I don't know what else to do. It's like I just said, "Oh, this hurts, I gotta make it stop," without really thinking about the long-time repercussions. I don't know. I'm so sad. Stories number 12. My wife is finally getting how she messed up and it doesn't feel good. One of the big things that me and my wife used to fight about was her use of credit cards. Even with me working overtime and consolidating I couldn't keep up. I begged her to stop, took away cards, etc., but it was still bad. Found out later when we were mending and reconciling that some of her friends thought I was just trying to be controlling and not listen. No, I was not, I just didn't wait to spend close to $1,000 a month in debt that we didn't need to have. An ounce of prevention and all that. Now, when my coworkers are striking I literally can't afford to join in, no, there's no fund. I can't afford to go to a similar paying job cause even discounting OT the soft money means I get more than what the base pay says. I'm trapped and miserable, have been for a while, but now she sees it a bit more and that's nice. It's not fun saying I tell you so and there's no point in doing it. Now we have to talk about maybe selling house and downsizing to pay off debt and get a new home. Stories number 13. My husband lied about coming to help me while I was critically sick. I, 28F, have been married to my husband, 32M, for 3 years. We have a 1-year-old daughter together. Up until recently, I thought I could count on him when I truly needed him. But last week, he proved me completely wrong. I had been feeling off for a couple of days, fatigued, nauseous, just generally unwell. Then one morning, I woke up with a fever, chills, and a deep sense that something was really wrong. I was so weak I could barely get out of bed. Taking care of our daughter felt impossible. I called my husband at work and told him I needed him to come home. He promised he would. An hour passed, then too he kept texting me, saying he was just finishing up something and would leave soon. Then he claimed he was stuck in traffic. Then he said he was on his way but had to stop for gas. At this point, my fever was getting worse, and I was struggling to even sit up without feeling dizzy. I told him it was urgent. He reassured me he was almost there, but something felt off. So I texted one of his coworkers, someone I knew he was close with. The response I got sent a chill down my spine: he hasn't left yet. He's still here. I was furious and terrified. I immediately called my neighbor, a kind older. She came over right away, helped me get dressed, and drove me to the hospital. Turns out, I had a severe asymptomatic urinary tract infection that had turned into a serious kidney infection. My heart rate was dangerously high, and the doctors told me that if I had waited much longer, I could have gone into septic shock. 2 hours later, while I was lying in that hospital bed, shaking from fever and hooked up to N4, my husband finally decided to show up. I didn't even want to look at him. He tried to explain, saying he didn't realize it was that bad and that he was just trying to wrap things up at work. But I can't get over the fact that he lied to me over and over while I was at home struggling to stay conscious. If my neighbor hadn't been there, I don't know what would have happened to me. I feel so betrayed. If he could ignore me in a life-threatening situation, what does that say about our marriage? About our future? About our daughter's safety if something ever happens again? I don't know what to do. Would you be able to trust your partner after something like this? Stories number 14. I, 24F, had accidentally killed my boyfriend's, 28M, bird and had said hurtful things to him. I'm afraid that he's going to hate me. I am going to say this now, in no way do I believe that my actions were justified. I hadn't meant to do what I did, and I feel incredibly guilty about the whole situation. I feel like there is no way I can ever apologize to him in a way that would be adequate enough to atone for my actions. We've been dating for 3 years, but have known each other for about 5 or so years. We had always been close friends. He's had depression and anxiety for a majority of his life due to his childhood. Our relationship was, more or less, perfect. I have always tried my best to be understanding due to some strange habits attachments that he uses to cope with his illnesses. While his attachments were somewhat unhealthy, in my own opinion, as long as it helped him to cope, I tried not to mind it much. One of his weird attachments was a bird. He had never been addicted to drugs bodily harm, but had found comfort in this cockatoo that he said that he had since high school. I had never liked birds much, but he says that doing stuff like bird watching had always helped him to take his mind off of any intrusive thoughts. His bird wasn't aggressive or anything, but I wasn't a big fan of it. He had what I considered to be an unhealthy attachment to the bird, but I had never said anything to him about it. These past couple of months, our relationship had been a little rocky. I'm not sure what happened, but he started to avoid me, and would clam up whenever I asked him what was wrong. For context, we lived together. This had happened before, but never to this extent time period. I began to wonder if I had done something wrong or hurt his feelings somehow. He had explained before that sometimes he's just get like this for no reason, and he assured me that it would always pass. It normally would, but this time, I wasn't too sure. It had gone on for too long. My boyfriend works from home, and I had the day off. He was in his office doing whatever the hell he does with that damn bird. I swear, he pays more attention to the bird than he does to his own girlfriend. At one point, I went into his office and locked us both inside, demanding that he tell me what the problem is. Bad idea, probably he hates being cornered, and I knew that and decided to use that against him. He asked for me to unlock the door and to leave and that he'd talk to me later in the living room. I refused, once again demanding that he tell me what's wrong, and if he didn't, I'd break up with him. I feel like it was kind of low of me to corner him and threaten him, essentially forcing him to share something that he wasn't comfortable sharing at the time, but that thought didn't cross my mind at that time. I feel terrible, but all I wanted at that time were answers. We had gotten into a heated argument, although one-sided. Admittedly, it was just a slew of insults on my end, and then he started to clam up and the bird ended up stealing his attention once more. I just about had it with him ignoring me to pay attention to his bird and, in the heat of the moment, told him just that. I clearly remember telling him, just date the damned bird since you obviously love it more than you love me. He tried telling me that it wasn't true, but I guess I wasn't having it, and the end result was him pushing me out the way to unlock the door, and him leaving the house. I don't know where he went, but I didn't care. I went to the guest room, as we had a shared bedroom that I did not want to be in at that moment, and I remember crying my eyes out. It was 3 a.m. and he still wasn't back. I had trouble sleeping and was worried about his well-being. During the argument, I had said some things that were based upon a few of his many insecurities, and had said some awful things to him that I didn't actually feel about him. I had tried texting him and calling him, but he had left his phone at home. His car was still there, but I have no idea where he could have gone. I had left my room with the intention of getting a snack, and then waiting for him to come home to offer an apology. The bird was usually noisy at night, but the house was almost unnervingly quiet. I didn't pay any mind to it. I was walking down the hallway, it was dark, when I felt something under my foot. I heard this crunching, snapping, squishy sort of sound. Sleep deprived and groggy, it took me a while to actually realize what had just happened. I moved back, felt along the walls for the light switch to the lights in the hallway. I hadn't turned it on previously because it was bright, and I had been in the dark guest room all night. I figured that there was no hazard, but I forgot that my boyfriend was the one that put the bird in its cage every night. My boyfriend wasn't there. I felt sick. Like genuinely, actually sick. The first thing I did when I realized what I had done was cry. The bird was still moving. I hadn't killed it, but I'm guessing that its spine snapped or something, because it was on the floor, kind of sprawled out, struggling to move. I didn't know what to do. I ended up putting it in an empty delivery box and sticking it in the closet in the hallway. Sure, I hated the bird, but I didn't want it to die or anything, much less kill it myself. I hadn't meant to do it. TLDR, got into an argument with my boyfriend, accidentally killed his bird. That was last night. It's now late in the evening and my boyfriend called to apologize to me for storming out. He told me that he was at his friend's house and staying for another night, that he'd be home in the morning. He asked me if I could feed the bird for him. I just told him, okay, I really don't know how to tell him. What if he thinks that I did it on purpose? A majority of that argument was spurred by, and spent bashing his obsession with the thing. I said all those hurtful things, and he felt that it was necessary to apologize to me. I feel horrible, like something less than human, and I don't know what to do. He's already in a bad place mentally, and this just puts the icing on the cake. How do I tell him? What do I even say to him? How can I ever make this up to him? Relevant comments. How else was I supposed to get him to listen to me? We live together, yet I rarely see him around the house. He'd avoid me, and I don't know why. Is it wrong to want answers when he's behaving weirdly? He'd just stay cooped up in his office all day and night with the dumb bird and I'd only see him when he left to get food. People are assuming that he'd be better off if he broke up with me. Why? I'm not an abuser, and 1 a.m. the only support system he has left. I technically didn't lie to him either, so. Commenter 1. You're a horrible psychopath, maybe that's why he'd be better. Commenter 2. Would you feel comfortable if he locked you in a room and demanded you do something he wanted? Not likely. Reply. Well, I wouldn't avoid him for a month without explanation, so if it all boils down to it, it's really his own fault that his bird is dead, not mine. Reply. I will tell him, eventually, when he asks about it. I'm not exactly sure how to bring up the fact that I accidentally killed his bird. Commenter 3. You call him right the fuck now, is what you do. Commenter 4. You're hiding it from him. On purpose. Because you know he won't stay with you if you say what happened. Reply. He'll stay with me either way. He has no choice in the matter. Other than the dumb bird, he has no one else that supports him like I do. Unless he wants to die depressed and lonely, he'll stay with me. That's not my concern. I just want him to understand that it was an accident entirely, so I'm not sure why you're jumping to conclusions. Commenter 5. You got jealous of a bird, wanted to control his relationship with his bird and neglected to care for it while he trusted you with it. Congrats, you need mental help. Reply. I didn't want to control his relationship with the bird. I just felt like he was too attached to it. I felt it was unhealthy for him to be so obsessed with a bird that was going to die sooner or later, as he had it for a long time. I wasn't jealous. Is it a sin for a girl to want her boyfriend to pay attention to her? Commenter 6. Cockatoos live for 30 plus years. They also require almost 24/7 care, and what we was doing was 100% normal for cockatoo owners. They are one of the most demanding birds for caretaking. You would know this if you talked to him about his hobby, but it doesn't seem like you care much about him in the relationship. You're more worried about him hating you than how he's going to feel about losing his bird he could have had decades more with. Edit. They actually live around 50 years. Reply. Even when he wasn't taking care of the bird, he'd do weird things like talk to it. I mean, I get why people talk to dogs, but a bird? We lived together, but I still felt like he was giving the bird more attention than he was giving his own girlfriend. Commenter 7. Grow the fuck up. He loved his bird. Haven't you ever loved anything beyond yourself? People talk to their pets. How is this such a strange concept to you? Are you a sociopath? OP? You're too immature and mentally unstable to be in a relationship. I hope he realizes this and fucking runs. Update. I'd like to start this off with a thanks for absolutely nothing. I posted to this site for advice, but got nothing but criticism and false accusations. I figured that you guys would appreciate an update, and are satisfied with the end result. He came home this morning, or later in the morning of the incident, as it had happened at 3 a.m. He came home around 8 or 9 a.m. We talked for a bit about what happened, and he seemed to be fine for the most part. He was hesitant in asking if I had fed the bird like he had asked me to. I told him no, and he asked me why. I told him that I couldn't find the bird. He gave me a weird look, I'm not even sure what kind of expression it was, sort of like a grimace, and he asked me again where the bird was. I told him the story of how I had accidentally stepped on it, and he immediately told me that it was bullshit. He told me that the bird was trained to return to his cage after sunset, and that it wouldn't just lie down in the middle of the hallway like that at 3 in the morning, much like you guys said, except I was telling the truth. I had never seen him so upset, or angry for that matter. He accused me of killing the bird on purpose, which is something I didn't do, and something that no one believed me when I say that was an accident, for whatever reason. He asked me to leave the house, and I refused, as I didn't know if he was planning to hurt himself or something if I left. He locked himself inside his office and he won't talk to me. I fear for his well-being, and I won't be there to stop him if he tries to do anything drastic. TLDR, boyfriend is convinced that I killed the bird on purpose, which I didn't. Has been in his office all morning to this afternoon and I can't get him to talk to me. Come out. How do I get him to listen to me? A majority of you are convinced that I killed the bird on purpose and that I'm abusive, even though that is not the case. It was an accident, and I am being misunderstood. I just don't know what to do. Stories number 15. Wife just passed away and can't stop crying. My 45F wife is the love of my life. We met each other at the right time of our lives. She was 25 and I, 47M, was 27. We just fit and clicked. We got married 4 years after that, and 3 years later, had our daughter who is now 12. Lots of terrible things happened after that. She suffered a miscarriage 2 years after giving birth to our daughter. Then 2 years after that she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She fought her illness for 8 years, and just passed away on the 2nd of January. I've been broken ever since. I'm trying my best to pick up the pieces. I'm suffering from depression and anxiety. So to counter that, I've been going to the gym every day. If I don't do that, I get more prone to anxiety attacks. People have noticed how much weight I've lost and how jacked I've become. I've never really noticed because those are byproducts. My goal is just to survive each day. And because of my sweat, nobody notices my tears. I do my best to take care of my daughter, but it's not enough because I can barely take care of myself. I can't bring myself to cook healthy meals because I often associate that with my wife, as I prepared healthy meals for her. The moment I pick up a knife, my hands shake, so I know I'm not okay. I've already seen my therapist and I have another session at the end of the month. He's a really good therapist counselor, as he was able to help me through my initial grief and depression when my wife was still alive. But for some reason, he wasn't at all helpful during the last session. I've been asking people, family, relatives and friends, for help, but they all keep saying the same thing: be strong for your daughter. I know my responsibilities, that's why I'm asking for help, so that I can take better care of her, because she's the last part of my wife left in this world. But I can't seem to move on. I'm still too attached to my wife. All of our memories together are just so vivid in my mind. She's still so very much alive in me, but knowing that she's not with me physically is the thing that causes me constant pain and grief. That's why I can't stop crying. My wife's friend suggested that I see a psychiatrist so that I can be prescribed medication that will deal with my depression. But I am a bit wary because of several things. First, I don't want to be reliant on the medication, and second, whatever I'm feeling is because of the love I have for my wife, and I don't want to numb that. I know that this is a process, that I have to go through it. But it's just so difficult right now, and I don't know what to do. The world and society isn't kind to a grieving husband who loves his wife. Every night, I always whisper to my wife, please take me now. I can't live like this. I can't live without you, and I repeatedly say that until I fall asleep. And when I wake up, the cycle begins again. I can't see a light at the end of this tunnel. And people also tell me to be open to meeting someone again. I hate that. They don't get that my wife is the only one I want in this life and the next. So where does a broken man go from here? Update, thank you for your comments. I was working out, so it took me some time to reply to some of you. Can't really reply to all, so hope that's okay. This was my very first post. I'm a really private and reserved individual, so for me to do this meant that I really needed help. So thank you for all those who reached out. Just one request, please be kind to each other. My wife and I wouldn't like it if people quarreled. There's just so much hate and vitriol in the world right now, so maybe we should all go against that. Much love to everyone. Second update, thank you for your concern about my daughter. Truth. She's actually doing better than me. She's taken up her performance in school up a notch. She's more socially active now with her friends. She's even trying new things now, like wall climbing. And to honor her mom, she's taken up the piano again. She misses her mom, especially at bedtime. She'll cry a bit, and then she'll go to my room and hug me and say, "It's gonna be okay." She's incredible, just like her mom. Third update, I wasn't expecting all these responses. It was just a simple plea for help, and the outpouring of support, except for one or two, is so overwhelming that I am truly humbled and grateful. Just when you think that everything's over, humanity always finds a way for some reason. Once again, thank you. Fourth update, this'll probably be my first and last post. While I appreciate the tremendous amount of support from all of you, there are some really nasty people sending me vile messages. I'll stay away from those and will be going about my routine. Apologies for making some of you cry, well, this is guy cry after all. Goodbye everyone. Stories number 16. Aita for setting up a camera in my boyfriend's room to catch his sister stealing my stuff, and now refusing to go back to their house. So, my boyfriend lives with his mom and sister, and since we live close to each other, I used to leave a lot of my stuff at his place to avoid hauling it back and forth all the time. You know, the usual: shampoo, conditioner, skincare, even some clothes. Over time, I started noticing little things going missing. At first, I thought I was just being forgetful. I have ADHD, so losing track of my stuff isn't exactly unheard of. But then, the incident happened. I had just bought a brand new 1-liter bottle of Wella conditioner. Because hair care is serious business. A week later, almost half of it was gone. Which made zero sense because, 1, I had also bought the matching shampoo, and, 2, I always use more shampoo than conditioner, yet somehow, the conditioner had vanished at twice the speed. And within a week, nearly half of it was gone. Now, I use more shampoo than conditioner, and my shampoo bottle, same size, was totally fine. Meanwhile, my boyfriend's sister, who had previously been complaining about needing to buy conditioner all the time, suddenly, wasn't. So, after a few more of my things mysteriously vanished, I decided I needed proof. I set up a camera in my boyfriend's room, facing the spot where I kept my stuff, and waited. And, oh boy, did I get proof. Not only did his sister go through my things multiple times, but she also rummaged through my personal bag. Like, straight up opened it and looked inside. Twice. And who knows how many other times she did it before I caught her on camera. At this point, my boyfriend and I agreed we needed to confront her. We told his mom first, hoping to handle it civilly. His mom called his sister into the room, and we showed her the footage. And this girl, with a straight face, lied. To our faces. Even with video evidence. And then, somehow, I became the bad guy. His mom completely turned the situation against me, saying I had no right to put a camera in their house without her permission. Right, because catching someone stealing my things is worse than actually stealing. Then, because apparently that wasn't enough, she decided to throw in, "It's always your trauma and your ADHD, so you're never wrong." I took a deep breath, kept my cool, and said, "I'm gonna leave now because this conversation is no longer rational. But go ahead and make me the villain so you can keep letting your daughter avoid responsibility." Then I walked out. His mom never apologized, and I feel bad cause my boyfriend is very emotional and isn't eating well. He says he doesn't feel hungry every time. Also, the way his mom said harmful things to me hurt me a lot. So I'd like to ask you guys, Aita for setting up the camera. Stories number 17. I let a stranger hide in my apartment, and I don't know if I regret it. This happened last year, and I still don't know if I made the right call. It was around 11 p.m., and I had just gotten home from a late shift. I live in a small apartment in a not-so-great part of the city, so I'm always a little on edge when walking home. That night felt off. As I was unlocking my door, I noticed a guy standing at the end of the hallway. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there, but something about him made my stomach drop. I got inside, locked the door, and tried to shake it off. Not even 5 minutes later, someone knocked. Hard. I froze. It wasn't my neighbor. She texts before coming over, and I don't really have friends who drop by unannounced. Then, a voice, "Please, can you just let me in for a second?" It was a woman. She sounded out of breath, almost panicked. I looked through the peephole, and there she was, maybe mid-20-ish, wide eyes, glancing down the hall like she was being followed. I know, stupid move, but I cracked the door open just a little and asked her what is going on. She whispered that there's a guy, he's been following her since she left the train. She didn't know where else to go from there. That's when I realized. The guy I saw earlier. My heart was racing, but I stepped aside and let her in. I locked the door immediately, turned off the lights, and we just stood there in the dark, listening. A few seconds later, heavy footsteps passed my door. Slow. Like someone was looking for something. Then, nothing. She stayed for about 30 minutes, just sitting on my couch, shaking. I offered her water, and we barely talked. Eventually, she called a friend to come pick her up. When she left, she just said thank you and disappeared down the hall. I never saw her again. I don't know if she was telling the truth. Maybe she was genuinely in danger. But I think about that night all the time, and I can't decide if I did the right thing or if I got really, really lucky. Stories number 18. Aita for refusing to let my sister bring her kids to my wedding, even though she says it's unfair. I, 28F, am getting married next month, and I've been planning this wedding for almost a year. My fiancé, 31M, and I both agreed we wanted an adults-only event, mostly because we envisioned a more formal evening. Also, the venue is small and very upscale, not really the best place for young kids to be running around. The problem is my sister, 32F, who has 2 kids, 5 and 7. When I first mentioned the no kids policy, she didn't seem too upset, but as we got closer to the wedding, she started dropping hints about how hard it would be for her to find a sitter. I totally get that it's tough, but I did offer to pay for a local sitter to stay with her kids at her hotel for the night, so she could attend the wedding without worrying. Well, she didn't like that suggestion. She says it's unfair because our other sister's wedding, 3 years ago, was family-friendly and allowed kids. But at the time, our niece and nephew were much younger and quieter. At this age, they're really energetic and love running around, and they tend to get cranky at night, which isn't what I want on my wedding day. It's become a big point of contention. She's now saying that if her kids aren't invited, she's not sure if she'll attend, which honestly hurts a bit. My mom have told me it is our choice, since we are the ones getting married, and I feel like I've been flexible and offered a good solution, but she's making me feel guilty for not bending this rule for family. So, Aita for sticking to the no kids rule and potentially making my sister feel unwelcome. Edit. So a lot of people have asked if I know the sitter, and I do. She lives in our neighborhood and has sitter a lot of our neighbors' kids. She is a very responsible young woman, around 22 to 24, can't remember her exact age. I do of course understand that my sister might not be comfortable leaving the kids to a person she does not know, but I just wanted to offer her a solution. Her husband also has a family, who I don't think would have anything against sitting the kids for one night, but I will let her decide if she wants to show. I just hope she does, since I do care about her and would love to have her there. Another reason we don't want kids there is because there is an open bar and we don't want kids and drunk people around each other, and my fiancé's family loves to party with a nice amount of wine and beer. Thank you for all the nice words and advice. I will give an update after the wedding, and we will be keeping the no kids rule, but we are thinking about letting kids be there for the ceremony like some people suggested. Top comment. NTA. When it gets brought up again, and it will, sorry you can't make it. Leave it like that. You were kind to offer a local babysitter, and it's her decision if she doesn't take you up on it. Reply. Okay, thank you, thought so too, but just wanted to make sure. Update. Aita for refusing to let my sister bring her kids to my wedding, even though she says it's unfair. Sorry it has taken so long to write the update. To be honest, I totally forgot about my post. Between the wedding, the honeymoon and the family drama, it just slipped my mind, but better late than never, right? Well, the wedding happened, and let's just say it wasn't without its moments. Buckle up, because this is a ride. So after the last post, me and my now husband decided to allow kids at the ceremony but kept the reception adults only. My sister wasn't thrilled but said she would figure something out. I took that to mean she was actually going to find someone to take the kids after the ceremony. How cute of me to assume. And it's not like I don't like my nephew and niece, they're adorable and sweet when we babysit them, because they know we set rules, but when my sister is there, they don't listen to anything cause she and her husband lets them do whatever they want. The ceremony was beautiful. My niece and nephew had their iPads, so they were still and well behaved, and for a moment, I thought everything would go smoothly. How naive I was. After the ceremony, me and my newlywed husband stayed to take some more photos, and then we moved to the reception. Guests were already mingling, drinks were being poured, and I was feeling great. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw my sister, her husband, and the kids. I thought she was just waiting for someone to come pick them up and didn't think much of it. Then about 20 minutes later, my nephew bolted across the room and in between tables, nearly colliding with my stepfather. I looked at my maid of honor and we both walked over to my sister. Keeping my voice low, I reminded her that the reception was adults only. She sighed dramatically, like I was personally ruining her life, and said, "We couldn't find a sitter last minute, so we'll just keep them for a little while." No. I calmly told her that I had given her multiple options, including a fully vetted, well-recommended sitter and her own in-laws, but she thanked no to the sitter and apparently didn't ask her in-laws. She just shrugged and said, "Well, we're already here, and they're behaving fine." At that exact moment, glass shattered, my heart dropped. The entire room went dead silent. I looked around trying to figure out what happened. And saw my aunt, God bless her, I love her so much, lifting my nephew and handing him over to my stepdad. He was fortunately okay, he didn't step in any glass, because my lovely aunt were close enough to control the situation. My dad and husband cleaned all the glass up. Apparently my nephew had been crawling under the tables and must have pulled the tablecloth by accident, making a plate and a few glasses fall and shatter. Thankfully nobody got hurt and the glass got cleaned up. My maid of honor helped find some new glasses and a plate. And when the chaos was taken care of, I went back to my sister and told her she needed to get the kids home now, and she lost her mind. My sister started yelling. She said stuff like, "I can't believe you're choosing a stupid rule over your own family. You're being a total bridezilla, and you're literally kicking out your own niece and nephew like they're stray dogs." At this point, people were staring. My husband came over to back me up, and my sister's husband came to calm her down. She said she couldn't drive them home since she had already had something to drink. My brother-in-law, her husband, said he would drive them to his parents' place. She got even more mad and said that she couldn't leave her kids just to be at a wedding. My mom then told her that she could leave to then. My sister stormed out, while muttering about how I was selfish and heartless. My BL, her husband, just stood there looking so embarrassed before awkwardly getting their kids, apologizing to me and my husband and then following her out. The rest of the night went really nice, we had so much fun and it was just a genuinely good night. My husband and I took a taxi to our hotel around 3, the party didn't end till around 5 or 6, but we were tired and just decided it was enough for us. We fell asleep right away and it was honestly the best sleep ever. I thought the drama was over, but nah, that would be too boring, right? Honestly, I wouldn't mind some boring moments. The next morning, I say morning but it was after 1 p.m, we were both pretty hangover and decided to just order some pizza, since we didn't want to go down to eat with a whole lot of people in the cafe down in the hotel restaurant. I checked my phone while he ordered pizza and saw my mom had written me to not pay attention to the post, she would take care of it. I was so confused and didn't know what she was talking about, but then I saw my sister's post on Facebook. My sister had posted a full-on rant about how I humiliated her in front of everyone and made her choose between her kids and her family. She claimed I was targeting her for having a fancy wedding and excluding her kids, and she heavily implied that I had disinvited her because I hated being an aunt and hated her kids. Some of our distant relatives, who weren't even at the wedding, started calling me out. One of my cousins commented, "Wow, some people take weddings way too seriously. It's just one night." Luckily, my God-sent mom and dad were not having it. They had both jumped into the comments to set the record straight, saying, I had given her plenty of options and she was fully aware of the rule months in advance. I literally offered to pay for a sitter that she refused to use. I didn't want to get into it and just turned off the phone. A few days after the wedding, my BL, my sister's husband, called me to apologize. He admitted that he had begged my sister to either accept my offer of a sitter or leave the kids with his parents, but she refused because she thought I'd cave at the last minute. He was mortified by how she acted and told me he had no idea she was going to make a scene like that. Apparently, they got into a huge fight about it afterward because he was embarrassed that she made a huge scene. I didn't really say much. We had planned our honeymoon to be from the 3rd of January till the 12th of January so that we could hold Christmas and New Year's with our families. And the temperature is better in January for a skiing trip. We held Christmas at my husband's parents and it was really nice. We then spent New Year's with some of our friends. My sister did not speak to me at all since the wedding. She did take down the post though. We went on our honeymoon and it was so much fun. We both snowboard, though on total different skill levels, him being just a tiny bit better. My sister called to apologize during the trip, but it really just ended up with her belittling me for kicking her out of the wedding. So that's fun, I guess. Do I regret kicking her out? Absolutely not. My wedding was so much better after she left. No drama, just a perfect night with the people who I love. Am I mad about the Facebook post? Not really. My mom and dad dragged her so hard in the comments that she eventually deleted it. Am I still talking to my sister? Barely. She has yet to actually apologize and still acts like I was the unreasonable one. At this point, I'm just letting her stew in her own bad decisions. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the read even though the update is a bit late. Stories number 19. Aita for not taking my FIL's last name after getting married. Hi all, I got married to my husband 1 year ago and I am still wondering if I'm an AH. Before we got married my husband and I talked and agreed that I could keep my current last name. It never occurred to me that I should tell anyone of our decision to not change my last name. At our wedding the pastor announced us as Mr. John and Mrs. Jane, fake names for anonymity. No last name was announced, but I guess I did mention to my new SIL that I was keeping my name. I'm not sure if she told my in-laws intentionally to cause conflict or if she actually didn't realize I hadn't told them. Anyways, once we got back from our honeymoon and finished moving into our new house my husband's parents invited us over. What I thought was going to be a nice first visit as husband and wife quickly turned into a fight. My FIL said he had to have a serious conversation with me, and he began talking about how great and wonderful his last name is and how people will automatically respect me in his community just because I would have the same name as him. I calmly as I could, I was so upset at this point I could hardly talk, told him my reasons for not wanting to change my name. 1. It's complicated and expensive to change IDs and such. 2. My current last name is unique, I've never met another person outside of family with it. 3. My home business and degree were established under my current name. None of these reasons were good enough for him. He replied, well, other Dale changed her name and she has the same degree as you, and then MIL said it didn't cost her any money to change her name, but that was 40 years ago, things change. I said I don't feel that I further need to justify my decision to you since you're not listening or understanding my perspective. Now, FIL says I am insulting him by rejecting his name and all his friends are going to suspect something is wrong and that I am making a mistake and that no one will respect me. I am full on crying at this point and all I could do was stand and say I am going home. As we are walking out FIL stands up and throws his hands up in a surrendering gesture saying I'm just trying to have a conversation. I think I could be the AH for 2 reasons here. 1. For not publicly announcing my intentions to keep my maiden name, and 2. For walking out mid-conversation with my new in-laws. Stories number 20. Aita for suing my brother over a family heirloom he gave to his fiancé. I come from a family where heirlooms mean a lot. Our grandmother left us an antique diamond necklace that's been passed down for generations to the first daughter in the family. Since I'm the only daughter of this generation, it was supposed to come to me. My brother claimed grandma told him in private that it should go to him instead because he's the most responsible. I didn't want to cause drama, so I let it go, even though it felt unfair. Last week, I saw on social media that my brother gave the necklace to his fiancée as an engagement gift. She posted a picture wearing it with the caption, "Feeling like royalty with my new family heirloom." I confronted my brother and reminded him the necklace was meant to stay in the family. He said, "She is family now. Don't be petty." When I asked for it back, he refused, saying it would ruin their engagement. I decided to take legal action to get the necklace back. Now my brother is furious and calling me selfish. My parents think I'm overreacting, but some extended family members are on my side, saying he never had the right to give it away. His fiancée even messaged me, calling me a jealous drama queen and telling me to find my own man to buy me jewelry. The whole thing has caused a family feud, and now my brother and his fiancée are threatening to uninvite me from the wedding. Aita for taking this to court over a necklace that was supposed to be mine. Additional information. For everyone asking why I didn't fight harder to get it before, I honestly didn't want to cause a huge fight over it at the time. I thought my brother would treat it respectfully, but now seeing it being gifted like it's just some accessory really hurts. I'm not trying to ruin their engagement, I just want what's rightfully mine back. What would you have done in my place? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA The necklace is a family heirloom with clear traditions and it was meant to go to you as the only daughter of this generation. Your brother had no right to gift it to his fiancée, especially when it was intended to remain within the family. Reply, thank you, that's exactly how I feel. I don't understand why he thinks he can just rewrite the tradition. It's not about the necklace itself but the principle behind it. Do you think taking legal action is too extreme, though? I'm starting to second-guess myself because of all the backlash from my parents and brother. Commenter 2, you need to ask your parents why they care more about your brother than you. Reply, honestly it feels that way sometimes. They keep saying they don't want to take sides, but their silence feels like support for him. I'm starting to wonder if they just don't want to deal with the conflict. Was there a will that has confirmed what needs to be done with the necklace? Reply, unfortunately she didn't write a will so the necklace wasn't officially stated to go to anyone in particular. Commenter 3, I already find it more than sus that grandma told your brother, in private, that she wishes to break a family tradition and give that necklace to him, not you. If it usually goes to the oldest daughter, grandma would make sure everyone knows that she wants it done differently. Telling only the person who benefits from the change makes no sense. Unfortunately, I have no idea what the law says about situations like that, probably different in different countries, but your post sounds to me like the legal action has already started, so at least your lawyer seems to believe you might have a case. Good luck. Reply, yeah, it's hard to believe grandma would have made such a big change without telling anyone else. I'm still figuring out the legal side of things. I just want to do what's right even if it gets messy. What's mine is mine. OOP shares the history behind her grandmother's necklace. Reply, the last owner of the necklace before my grandmother was her mother, so it's on my grandmother's side of the family. It's always been a tradition passed down from the maternal side, and as the only daughter in this generation it was supposed to go to me. That's why it's so frustrating to see it given away like this. Update. Wow, I wasn't expecting this much attention on my post. Thank you to everyone who shared their thoughts and advice. I wanted to give an update because things have escalated and there's some new context. First, I talked to my parents about the situation. It turns out my brother didn't just take the necklace, he convinced my dad that grandma told him it was meant for him because she thought a man would be more responsible. My dad, trying to avoid conflict, handed it over without asking questions. So no, my dad didn't intentionally give it to him, it was manipulation. I also reached out to other family members who remember grandma's clear wishes that the necklace was supposed to go to the first daughter. They're willing to back me up if this goes to court. My dad has also agreed to speak on my behalf in court, clarifying that he never meant to give the necklace away permanently. As for the legal side, I've consulted with my lawyer, who thinks I do have a case. Since there's no will, it all comes down to proving that the necklace was meant to stay in the maternal line. It's tricky, but I feel more confident now knowing I have some family members on my side. My brother and his fiancé, however, have doubled down. They've accused me of being jealous, and his fiancé posted another passive-aggressive picture on social media wearing the necklace, captioning it, "Some things just find their rightful home." It's honestly infuriating. At this point, I'm committed to fighting for the necklace, even if it causes more tension in the family. I'll keep you updated if there are any major developments. Additional information. I'm not backing down no matter how much they try to twist things. This necklace belongs to me and I'm going to make sure it stays in the family. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, fight. This is theft and it rightfully belongs to you. But ask yourself, how come all of you bend to your brother's will? Have things like this happened before? Reply, yes, things like this have happened before and it's always been my brother getting his way. It's frustrating but I'm not letting it slide this time. Commenter 2, your brother is a manipulative POS. Your parents should tell him he'll be written out of their will if he doesn't return the necklace to you, saves you going to court. If not, go to court and go NC with him after, he's not your brother, he's a snake. And go LCNC with anyone in your family who sides with him. For social media, you can just post if you need to respond and say it is an ongoing legal matter and will be discussed in court. Everyone will know what is up then. Update 2, hi everyone, here's the latest update. My court date is set for the 27th and I've been doing everything I can to prepare. Honestly, this whole process has been so overwhelming emotionally, mentally, and financially. I never expected that standing up for what's right would come with such a heavy price. I've had to dip into my savings to cover legal fees, which has been stressful, but I can't back down now. The good news is my dad has agreed to testify on my behalf. He's been reflecting on everything and realizes now that my brother manipulated him by claiming that grandma wanted him to have the necklace. My aunt is also supporting me and has shared specific moments where grandma talked about how the necklace was supposed to go to me. Having them both on my side is giving me hope. Meanwhile, my brother and his fiancée are making things even messier. She actually brought the necklace to a family dinner recently wearing it like a trophy. She didn't say anything directly, but the way she was flaunting it felt like a calculated move to provoke me. My mom told me to just let it go after that incident, but how can I when it's so clear they're doing this to spite me? I don't know, sometimes it feels like my mom is supporting my brother. She's been really quiet about all of this. The emotional toll of this fight has been huge, but I'm trying to stay strong. This isn't just about the necklace, it's about honoring my grandmother's wishes and standing up for myself in a family that has always prioritized my brother over me. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting me here. Your encouragement has been such a lifeline during this difficult time. I'll update you all after the court date on the 27th. Additional information. Honestly, I didn't expect things to get this intense. It's like every time I think I'm making progress, something else comes up. Still shocked by how quiet my mom's been about it all. I'll keep you all posted after the court date on the 27th, fingers crossed. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you're dipping into your savings and causing all these rifts in your family and still going to lose the court case. Reply, I get that it might seem like a tough fight, but I'm not backing down. I have solid support from my dad and aunt, plus the legal side is looking better than expected. I'm confident that when it comes down to it, I'll win this. Commenter 2, why do your father and mother allow him to continue acting this way? Flaunting the necklace at a family dinner in the middle of a lawsuit. Maybe if they put their foot down and didn't allow him to participate in family gatherings without returning the necklace to its rightful owner or at least being respectful about it, they would be more pressured to give up the necklace. If you end up with it back though, please wear it all the time in front of her and post pictures with snooty captions similar to hers about it really finding its rightful home. Commenter 3, I truly despise those mothers who use the damn, just let it go, bullshit argument. What she is really saying is, I want you to be a doormat because I refuse to deal with the real problem person and prefer that you just roll over and take it. Your mom can stuff it. She's just a horrible mother. I hope the court case goes well. Please give us another update. Update 3. Sorry for the late update, things have been exhausting, and I honestly needed some time to process everything. So, we had our first court date on the 27th, and I won't lie, it was way more stressful than I expected. My dad testified on my behalf, making it clear that my brother manipulated him into handing over the necklace. My aunt also backed me up, sharing how my grandma always intended for it to be mine. My brother, of course, tried to twist things in his favor, acting like he was just following some private wish from grandma, but there's literally no proof of that. Right now, we're still waiting on the next steps. The case isn't fully settled yet, and my brother is pushing back hard, probably hoping I'll just give up. His fiancée sat there acting all emotional, like she's the one being wronged in this situation. Meanwhile, my mom has barely said anything, which honestly hurts more than I thought it would. This whole process has been draining, emotionally and financially. Legal fees keep piling up, and I never thought I'd have to spend this much money just to fight for something that was supposed to be mine in the first place. It's frustrating, but I've come too far to quit now. I really appreciate everyone who's been supportive through this. It helps more than you know. I'll update again once there's more news. Additional information. Didn't expect this fight to take such a toll on me, but here we are. Just taking it one step at a time and hoping for the best, crossed fingers. Top comments. Commenter 1, be aware that the girlfriend might lose the necklace, dump your brother then miraculously find it. Then sell it. Commenter 2, that's what I was wondering, is there any way to hold the necklace in some sort of not escrow but a safe third place? New update. Sorry for the late update, but things have been insane. My next court date is set for March 9th, and let's just say a lot of people have shown their true colors. At this point I'm convinced some people are just pretending this isn't happening. My mom silent. My brother acting like this is some personal attack on him instead of what it really is, him taking something that was never his and certain other family members. Let's just say I now know exactly who would backstab me. The tension is unbearable. Some people are way too comfortable pretending this isn't happening. Let's just say, some relationships may never recover from this. I have definitely heard a lot of talk about this from my family, but I've already spent more than I ever imagined on legal fees, and this is far from over. But giving up not happening. And for those of you confidently predicting outcomes in the comments, stop. I'm not from the US and laws work differently here. A lot of people have been acting like they know exactly how this will play out when they don't even know how the system works here. I've seen people confidently say things that don't even apply to my situation. If you don't know, just don't assume. I'll update again soon, but I'm holding my ground. No matter how exhausting this gets. I know what's right. Additional information. At this point, I just want justice and to finally put this behind me. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Your brother had no right to give away a family heirloom that was intended for you. Taking legal action to retrieve it is understandable, especially since your father and aunt have testified on your behalf, confirming your grandmother's intentions. It's unfortunate that this has caused a family feud, but standing up for what's right, particularly in honoring your grandmother's wishes, is important. Hopefully, the upcoming court date will bring a resolution that respects your family's heritage. Commenter 2, it happens all the time. When there's a death in the family, it's like some latent virus wakes up and takes over, with all kinds of crazy ideas of what they were promised, what they were owed, taking liberties and getting greedy. I'm sorry you are going through this, but proud you are taking a stand to defend yourself from your brother NSIL's greedy, grubby lies. There comes a time when we find our hill to die on, and this is yours. Good luck. Stories number 21. I, 28M, am a formerly morbidly obese man, now just obese, and am going on my first date with a woman, 27F. What do I do? Hello, as the title suggests, I used to be morbidly obese at 350 pounds. I joined a gym 2 years ago and lost 130 pounds and am now 220 pounds, so I'm still obese, but less obese than before and not in as much risk of dying. I also put some muscle on. I met a woman at my gym a year or so ago and she gave me props for losing weight, at that time it was 70 pounds, and we became friendly. Obviously I thought she was very good looking but I was still morbidly obese and had no idea what to do nor did I want to ask her out because of my obesity. A year later I lost some more weight and just thought fuck it I'll ask her out, and she said yes. I am honestly in a little disbelief because honestly she is very much out of my league, and I am unsure what to do. I was expecting to just get told that she had a boyfriend, so I didn't really think of anything after asking her out. She gave me her number and seemed excited when I reached out. I need to know what to do, and how to not fuck it up so I am now coming to Reddit. Thank you. TL, Dr. Fat man going on first date and unsure what to do, advice would be appreciated. Notable comments. Commenter 1. Just be yourself, don't worry about the weight information, you are making awesome progress. She clearly has seen you working you but off in the gym to better yourself and that is a quality that she most likely finds attractive in you. She sees you at Driven and wants to get to know you on a more personal level, so like I said be yourself and don't demean yourself in front of her like saying I never thought anyone like you would find me attractive, be confident in yourself and give her compliments as well. I feel like you're overthinking this way too much. She's not a stranger seeing you for the first time, she already met you in real life and saw your body, it obviously didn't bother her if she gave you her number and kept in touch. Plus she finds you attractive enough to agree to a date and be excited about it. Commenter 2. Stop treating yourself like you're still 350 pounds. You've done an amazing job with your weight loss. Be authentic, treat her like a regular person instead of putting her on a pedestal, go with the flow and have a good time. Confidence goes a long way. I'm skinny, married to a bigger man. While my husband does have insecurities about his weight, not once did he make self-deprecating comments or insinuate I'm out of his league when we began dating. Instead, my hubby was funny and kept the conversation flowing. I was having so much fun I looked forward to the next time I'd see him. Commenter 3. It was freshening cause I've had men demean themselves in front of me too, I don't care, make themselves look more appealing I guess. Like, I know you're fat. I can see that. I'm still interested so there's no need to make it the only topic we talk about. Buddy, if she didn't like you she wouldn't have wanted to hang out so don't worry about your weight no more. So, a date is where you do something together and get to know each other. That's it. You worry more about whether or not you like her or feel a connection with her than trying to impress her. Just be friendly, respectful and considerate and you'll be doing enough for her. Keep it simple and make sure you're doing something where you can actually talk. Walk through a museum, sit down and get lunch, walk a nature trail. Bust out the fancy dinner for her birthday, not for the first date. Commenter 3. If you have absolutely no dating experience, watch the show Love on the Spectrum on Netflix, you'll feel better. As an overweight guy myself, this is the advice I'll give you, but please read it and take it. Date her to find out whether you like her. Her liking you is not enough. You have to discover whether this is someone you want to spend more time with. As a guy who always felt shunned because of my size, I was overly grateful for any woman who gave me any sort of time, and it led to some very bad relationships because I was just so damn desperate that I put up with anything. Don't do that. Go on the date, be polite. Don't hesitate to tell her you're not real good at this stuff. Lay off the self-deprecation, but mostly ask her questions and listen to what she says. At the end of the night walk her to her car and lean in for a kiss. Commenter 4. But spend this time discovering whether she is a person you want to be with because of her she is, not because she's willing to be with you. When you've been alone a lot of your life, it's easy to get confused about that. So don't. I don't think you realize what an accomplishment you've made. There's probably less than 10% of people in the world who have done what you have. You've shown drive, determination, and commitment. Those can be great attributes in a partner. That's likely what she sees. If you can commit to your body and health you can commit to a person and she knows it. You've likely created some defense mechanisms, self-deprecating for one to allow you to not be hurt by the public at large. That's going to be tough to overcome. While women don't want someone arrogant, they generally appreciate an air of confidence. You need to understand that you have something to offer. It's what's inside that makes someone special. Be kind, considerate, a good listener, show empathy and compassion. Treat her as someone special and understand that you deserve someone special and you'll be just fine. Good luck. Iffy Biz. Update. Hello, I made a post a while ago talking about my first date coming up after losing weight. I am very dumb with women, so I was stressed out about it. Many of you asked for an update so here it is. The date happened last Thursday and it went really well. I was surprised at how much more straightforward it was than I thought it would be. I guess women are just humans after all so that is to be expected. I am also no longer a virgin so that's quite nice. Thank you, and that is my update. Comments. I imagine attractive women's experience in the gym can be a bit insane as far as getting hit on. However, I felt what set me apart is that it was obvious with anyone with the eyes that first and foremost, I was there to work, I put the work in, and that was priority number one. Gawking and women was never a thought in my mind, and I think she picked up on that, and I think that'll be true for anyone. It's an environment, people coming in regularly, you're bound to strike up conversations every now and again. Are they going to lead to stuff like this? Probably not, but you never know. Like I said, working out was always priority one. She's seen me lose all of it, or nearly all of it. I remember initially seeing her like a week after I started losing weight, but I never spoke to her until I had already lost a good amount of weight. The psychology is so important because I feel like so many people go through the vortex of gaining and losing the same 10 pounds, and when you are in the middle of that, it is such a mentally draining and exhausting feeling. I feel like personal trainers who have been lifetime athletes and in shape just fail to understand a lot of the actual psychology that goes into losing weight. Not to say they are all like that, but I've seen it so many times. The one thing I learned deep into my journey was you have to learn how to persevere. We all have bad days, and for a lot of people, food can give us momentary comfort, and that's okay, but you can't let it get out of control, and know to quickly get back on the horse, because if you don't, that's how you get stuck in the wormhole of working off and gaining back the same 10 pounds for eternity. I could write an essay about losing weight, because I feel like everyone knows the logic behind it. It's super simple, calories in versus calories out. It really isn't rocket science. But the psychology of it, staying in the right mental state, I feel is 90% of the battle. I do need to speak higher about myself. I think it's rooted in most people that have dealt with being overweight, but we use self-deprecation as a coping mechanism to pretend our weight, and just our image of ourselves doesn't matter, when in reality it does. I am happy about my progress, but you don't just undo 20 years of your own self-image overnight. I'm working on it. Stories number 22. Aita for calling off the engagement after my fiancé kept saying I will give him a baby once we're married. My fiancé, 31M, and I, 25F, have been together for 2 years, and engaged for 6 months. We've both wanted kids at some point, but never set a specific timeline. Lately though, he's been making comments about how I'll give him a baby once we're married. The first time I let it go, but when he said it another time I joked back, so that's my job now, and he just said, yeah, you're the one making it. I told him that the way he was wording it was rubbing me the wrong way, and he rolled his eyes and said I was overthinking it. But he said it like that a couple more times later. I started to feel less excited about starting a family. I told him straight up that it was making me uncomfortable after he said it like that again, later. He laughed and said, it's not that deep, that's just how it works. And in that moment, I was starting to feel done, so I called off the engagement. He said I was being ridiculous over a poor choice of words. His family got involved and is telling me that I misunderstood him and that he just meant he was excited to start a family with me. I'm wondering if I overreacted. Aita. Stories number 23. My wife just got a positive pregnancy test. I've had a vasectomy for 15 years, so my wife of over 25 years just showed me a positive pregnancy test. I've had a vasectomy since just after our 18Y twins were born. She's freaking out about the pregnancy and the fact that I've had a vasectomy. I've been calm and supportive. I'm saying I'm fine. I really can't even think of a single time she has a chance to screw around. I'm going to make an appointment with a urologist. I am still freaking the fuck out in my head. This happened an hour ago and it's just weird. I'm 56 and she's 50, which is way too old to have a kid. ETA, y'all are awesome. Someone mentioned perimenopause can cause false positives and a Google search shows this to be accurate. Rare, but it happens. I've already mentioned it to her and her doctor has her on the schedule tomorrow. The complete ending of freaking out on her part pretty much put my anxiety to rest. I'll update in case anyone wants to know. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Why did she take the test in the first place? Because of a missed period. At 50, the suspected cause of a missed period would logically be perimenopause and not a miracle pregnancy. It may not be reassuring, but even if she were stepping out, the odds of naturally getting pregnant at 50 are very, very, very slim. Reply. I haven't talked a lot about my wife's anxiety. She's gotten better over the years but still gets in her head too much sometimes. That was the case here. She was 2 weeks late, so she grabbed a test on the way home to alleviate her worries. Commenter 2. Never too old IMO, but if you both really do not want more kids, I am praying it's a glitch in the matrix. Shocked. X. Reply. Same, she won't have a termination and I'm honestly not a fan. Although I would not try to persuade her if she wanted one. Not my call. But, I think this is going to work out. Commenter 3. How do you have a vasectomy and not realize that they can fail? You need to get your sperm count checked, and going to your wife as cheating as your first response is gross. Like if you're coming in your wife, it should be your first idea that it's probably you. If you've had a vasectomy that long, I don't know why it would be your first thought that she was cheating and not your first thought that you need to go get your sperm checked. Reply, I know. But stress and that initial anxiety are not logical. Please believe I was the most caring and calming person I could be. The overreaction was all internal. Commenter 4, good on you for being so supportive even if you had a little voice saying something. As the comments section shows, there were many reasons for this, and you being a stand-up husband just made whatever medical deal is causing the positive to pop up that much easier for you guys to go through together. Reply, I'm so glad I don't do an immediate freak out. I've done that in the past and I like to think I've learned from it. OOP should have his wife check for any possible cancers like ovarian cancer. Reply, she has some tests scheduled for early next week to rule out potential causes. That is her biggest concern now, as she's already gone through breast cancer. Update. So, I'm actually a bit surprised by how much this has been seen and commented on. As well as an insane amount of DMs. Even if I didn't reply, I did read them all. Some background. When our twins were little and I was working 2 jobs, my wife had an EA. So there is a history that led to me freaking out initially. It was barely an EA from her side, but the AP was pushing boundaries when I caught what was happening, and in her defense she agreed it was inappropriate as soon as I confronted her and went NC immediately. Since then we've actually gotten to a great place and have a great marriage. Got all the questions why she took a pregnancy test. She was 2 weeks late, and even in perimenopause she's like a clock usually, and as has been mentioned, the snip can fail. For the "she's for the streets" comments and DMs, after my initial reaction, I'm not concerned that she was fooling around. Our youngest daughter wanted us to get location sharing, so we all share locations with each other. We have Ring cameras at all entry and exit points at our home, and honestly, we pretty much are together when not at work. On to the update. She is not pregnant. They are unsure what caused the false positive, which they got at the doctor's as well, but an ultrasound ruled it out. I have an appointment to make sure I don't have swimmers, cause now I'm nervous about that. They want to do some more tests to make sure the HCG in her system is just a symptom of perimenopause and not anything worse. I'm glad that my freak out was kept to myself, and thanks to all of you that have me some info on what could be causing the issues. That's likely it. I've never had a post blow up like this. A Newsweek writer contacted me for a comment, even so I'm considering deleting my account. Top comments. Commenter 1, honestly, I've never seen a post end up like this. I'm happy for you that you were both secure and immediately went to get health checked for both of you, or are going to. I love that you both trust and support each other and don't have any issues worrying about her being for the streets. It sounds like you both are with the right other person and that hopefully everything else is healthy for both OTU. Good for y'all. I really needed this positivity and hopeful outlook today, thank you. Commenter 2, this is one post I'm so happy there's an update on. Hopefully good news from the doctor. Commenter 3, I hope she's okay. Please make sure she gets to the doctor for further testing. False pregnancy tests can be caused by a health issue with underlying conditions and, in some cases, even from medicine she's taking. Sending hugs to both of you. Stories number 24. I just broke a serious rule of online dating and I feel awful. I had matched with this woman on Bumble last week. We exchanged texts, I had made her laugh, she made me laugh, and we had a call over Bumble. After the call I asked her to a date this Saturday and she said yes. I was really pumped for it. I loved talking to her, she was beautiful, and she lives close by. We kept texting back and forth and it seemed like I was set for a date tomorrow night. This morning I woke up around 3 a.m. for some reason. I saw that I had a notification from Bumble, message from X. I opened the app and she had ended the chat at 10:47 p.m. I couldn't see her final message. I panicked. I really wanted to know what happened. For all I know, that last message may have been her phone number. I knew she was a realtor in my area, so I googled her name and my city. I found her and sent a message over her Zillow profile. Now that I've calmed down, I realize that I'm horribly messed up. The social contract, I think that's the term, of online dating is once they've ended it, that's it. Don't try and reach out again. But I did it. I need a tranquilizer or something. I feel sick. I don't care if it's because I panicked and found her off Bumble and did this, which again, is horribly wrong. Or because I fell for someone I hadn't even actually met. Either way, I'm feeling really bad inside. Stories number 25. 49M, why would married man jokingly do this to a married woman? 47F. My wife of almost 25 years works in a public elementary school. We are both in our late 40s and we have 2 grown children in college. A week before Valentine's Day I happened to look through my wife's bag. This is something I've never done before, and I found an envelope with a post-it note and a handwritten message, "Be my Valentine," inside a hand-drawn heart. Inside the envelope are 2 $150 Broadway show tickets and another post-it note that said, "Please." When I looked at the details of the tickets I saw a name of my wife's only male colleague as the ticket purchaser. My wife had told me earlier she was going to hang out with a group of coworkers a week after Valentine's Day, but she didn't tell me any details. On Valentine's Day I sent a bouquet of flowers to her at school, and upon receiving them she sent me a text asking, "Did you send me flowers?" To which I replied, "Is that even a question you need to ask your husband?" I went on to tell her I probably saw something in her bag that I shouldn't have seen, and upon realizing I was probably talking about the 2 Broadway show tickets she explained she will be watching the show with her coworkers. When I asked her about the handwritten note she said the male coworker likes to joke around a lot and he probably sent a note like that to everyone. When I asked why she had 2 tickets she said it was because the other ticket is for a female coworker that she will be picking up before the show. I told her I was not comfortable about the messages on the post-it notes, and I also told her I know her well enough to believe she won't do anything stupid, which I truly believe. I also told her I don't know any married men who would jokingly ask a married woman to be his Valentine. So my question is, are there any men here who can give me a different perspective and motive for doing something like this? In my view, there's only one reason for a man to do that. And BTW, my wife is a good-looking woman in good physical shape and she looks like someone in her 30s. Thank you all for your comments. I don't disagree with what you've all posted, but I am also trying to be positive about this. Since she did skip the show and went on a trip with relatives instead, this week is winter recess. I will be discussing this in detail. Her tomorrow. I drove for 3 hours to spend the last night West them and to drive back. Her tomorrow. BTW, I won't be going through her phone or confronting her coworkers because it will only make things worse. It's an issue between my wife and I, and we will work to resolve it one way or another. While investigating them or sharing this, his wife may seem like a good tactic. I don't want to be the person to cause any problems in his family. They can deal with their own problems without me. Stories number 26. I'm so tired of my neighbor's constant shit. Latest is, she called the police and ICE on a contractor at my home. I have a long 23-year history of the neighbor being a complete bitch, unhinged at times, who, yesterday, caused me to not have my main line from my water meter to my house repaired, and I may be without service until the weekend. Neighbor next door is a crazy nut job. I used to think it was her husband that was causing problems, until they got divorced, and then he apologized to me, telling me how sorry he was that he had moved her in next door to me when they purchased the house. Over the years she has called police on me because my car was in the street, legal, called the police because my boat was in the street attached to my SUV, legal, called the police because we put in a portable basketball goal between the curb and the street, legal, called the HOA because my boat was in the driveway for cleaning, legal and permissible by HOA, harassed my yard crew because they mowed 6 inch of her yard across the property line, turned me into the HOA because my fence gate was higher than the 6-foot limit. HOA said don't worry about it. Had the police come out because we were having a pool party and people were, gasp, drinking alcohol in the front yard, sitting on our front porch, also legal. After the garbage and recycling trucks come by, if we aren't home, she lays ours on their side in our driveway, blocking us from entering our drive, forcing us to stop the car in the street, get out and move them, so I had to ask her to stop. She said, it makes our cul-de-sac ugly to leave them out at the curb and you should pay someone to come over and move them before you get home. I had to tell her 3 times to stop before she finally stopped. Another time I rebuilt the fence between my other neighbor's yard and mine. When I demoed the wood and set it at the street for pickup, legal, she called the police on me. Another time I was changing my car's brakes, in my garage, and she called HOA to come out and fine me because I was being too noisy, using an air hammer on the wheel locks. Once, she demanded I hire a crew to cut back tree limbs over her yard from a beautiful 140-year-old oak tree, estimated by an arborist, that perfectly splits our property line. She got pissed when I told her she's responsible for her side and I'm responsible for mine, and that due to the age of the tree, an arborist should be consulted to determine where it can be cut for the health of the tree. So she waited until I was gone on vacation and hired a tree trimmer, not an arborist, who cut everything all the way back to the property line. Huge limbs, some as large as 36 inch in circumference. Gone. I should have sued her then, and the tree trimmer, for endangering the health and stability of the tree. There's so much more to unpack about all the nasty things she has done, but getting back to the reason for my post, yesterday, a demolition crew was in front of my house to cut out and remove part of the sidewalk. My main water line is leaking a lot of water from under there. Once they had that removed, another crew was coming out to dig out the hole to get to the main line, which is about 3 foot below ground. But my neighbor saw them, and because the fiber internet cable that goes to her house is buried along that sidewalk, she decided they couldn't dig there or disturb that concrete. The contractor told her they have a permit from the city. She went back inside, then came back out a few minutes later and told the Hispanic foreman that she had called both the police and ICE and they were on their way. According to the contractor, 2 of the workers are here on green cards, and perfectly legal, but they didn't want to hang around and be harassed. So they left. Since they left, the second crew got reassigned to a different repair, and now that we're experiencing a hard winter freeze, DFW, with below zero wind chills having set in, it won't be until Friday before they are coming back. TLDR. Psychotic bitch next door shut down my home repair by calling the police and ICE on the workers. Now I don't have water. Stories number 27. I got called into HR for inappropriate dancing at the company holiday party. Still annoyed. Every year, my company hosts a big, formal holiday party with a best-dressed competition. This year, I decided to go for it. I've been sewing my own clothing for a few years now, and occasionally do costumes for drag and burlesque shows. In working on the costumes, I've learned a lot of couture techniques in gown making, lots of feathers and beads and sparkle in both communities. But I haven't had the chance to make myself something wearable using anything I'd learned. The holiday party felt like the right time to make myself something beautiful and show it off. I ended up making a floor-length, red satin gown with a big bow in the back, matching opera gloves, and a sparkly white faux fur stole. It was significantly less glittery than initially planned, but once the base came together, I decided I liked the look of the satin undisturbed and left it alone. The dress was a big hit. It was glamorous, I felt beautiful in it, and people were shocked that I had made it myself. I won Best Dressed overall. Every time someone won, they got to go out onto the dance floor and do a little fashion walk, spin around, answer a couple questions, then go and sit down. When it was my turn to walk, I did a few things I've seen at burlesque shows, drag shows, and probably a few old Hollywood movies. I did the slow side step with wavy arms. I shrugged off the stole to better show off the bow and looked down over my shoulder. I think I did a 3-step turn at some point. Nothing racy or inappropriate, and less than a minute long. Anyway, someone reported it to HR. I got called in a few days after the party and told that my dancing had made people. I asked if there were multiple reports. They said there was only one, uncomfortable. They gave me the "work parties are still work" speech and let me go. They didn't even really give me a chance to say anything. I'm so frustrated. The dress was work party appropriate, my walk was work party appropriate, and no one has said a single negative thing to my face. I'm still proud of myself and the dress, but it feels like majorly misplaced effort. What a cruddy way to start the break and end the work year. Edit. Oh wow, I did not expect the response this has gotten. I think I was still annoyed because I hadn't really gotten to talk to anyone about it yet. Thank you for letting me vent, and sharing your perspectives, HR stories, and humor. I feel a lot lighter just reading through the comments. I just want to clarify 2 things, since I think my mention of burlesque has, rightfully, made it sound like I brought my inner Jessica Rabbit to a stuffy work function. First, is that the moves I added to my walk are not specific to burlesque, and can be found in virtually all forms of dance. I only mention burlesque and drag because that's where I learned about them. I am not a dancer and never have been, and their functions on a stage. The sideways walk is used a lot in burlesque and drag because it's a really, really good way to show an audience your outfit without just doing a regular catwalk around the stage. Moving sideways keeps your torso, so the front of the outfit, facing the audience, and arms up out on the hips keeps the outfit in full view. There are variations of this scene in things like musicals, ballroom dance, when couples are entering the floor, and the wavy arms are, I think, inspired by ballet. Depending on how you move, it can be really graceful, very sexy, or kind of camp, like purse first. I was trying to be graceful, show off the dress, and make the glitter on the stole sparkle a little, hence the arm waving. Second, almost everyone who walks each year does their best impression, or a really campy imitation, of a fashion model's catwalk. Some people really swing their hips, and most people stop at the end of the runway, and do the model, hip-hop and over-the-shoulder look into the camera. Last year, the guy who won Best Dressed showed up in a gold sequin suit and did a genuine ballroom, Paris is Burning ballroom, not waltz ballroom, catwalk that would have been very scandalous if a woman had done it. There's also time for actual dancing towards the end of the night, and there are definitely people every year who get a little loose. I think somebody did get called in for drunk twerking last year, but she was kind of a mess that whole month, so it might have been something else. I do understand that maybe my attempt at being graceful may have come off sexier than intended. I was banking on the fact that the moves are not burlesque or drag specific, the gown itself is not form-fitting, it's a full skirt, and felt that others swaying their hips down the runway was less work appropriate than ballerina arms. Maybe I was wrong, maybe I was right, the comments seem split, but I'll come up with something else if I get to walk again next year. Thanks again for the laughs and support. Update, TLDR, my company hosts a holiday party every year with a best dressed competition where winners get to do a catwalk to show off their outfits. I made my own dress, won best dressed overall, did a side step with wavy arms and a 3-point turn, and someone reported me to HR. I wasn't going to post any updates because the outcome was pretty bland. But hopping on yesterday, I was shocked to see how much more activity the post got after I initially logged out, and thought that maybe someone would like to read about what happened. Long story short, someone in HR did not do their due diligence and I was called in by mistake. This only came to light after a New Year's Eve party, not work-related, where the same person complained about my inappropriate dancing. I was out of town on New Year's. Long story long, the guy who made the report initially went to HR to complain about a woman in a red dress from my department trying to dance with him at the holiday party. Apparently, he didn't know her name, and the person he talked to did not ask for more identifying information. This person decided that I must be the woman in the red dress, despite the fact that there were multiple women in red dresses at the holiday party, and arranged for the initial meeting. Once we came back to the office after the holiday break, I was once again called into HR. They told me that they normally didn't talk to employees about personal conflicts, but since I had repeated a behavior that they had already warned me about, they felt it necessary to meet with me again. This prompted a back and forth. I apologized for my walk at the holiday party and said I understood that some people might have found it to be too risque. But that I hadn't done it again and did not intend to. They said that this was about the dancing. I told them the only dancing I had done at the party was the walk. They said the walk was fine, this was about the dancing. At some point, one of the HR reps outlined the initial complaint to me, dancing with a coworker. I told them I had not danced with any coworkers that night, nor had I even been on the dance floor. Then they asked if I had been to any New Year's Eve parties and I told them I had been out of town. This essentially ended the meeting. I assumed they realized they were talking to the wrong person and the issue of privacy kicked in. I was given an apology by the head of HR a few days later and told that the situation was being dealt with. One person doesn't work here anymore, but I don't know if that was the HR rep and whether that person was fired. I think I know who the real woman in red was, unless she was in burgundy, then it's a toss-up, but I have no idea whether or not she's been spoken to. I don't know the guy she was trying to dance with. I still feel weird about everything when I think about it, but I think that's because I don't know what went on with the two people actually involved. But I don't think about it very often, which is good. Thanks again for all your HR stories, thoughts, and humor. I didn't realize how frustrated I was about not being able to talk to anyone about it. The comments really helped. Stories number 28. To fool by getting fired because I cried. Okay, so this happened about 2 hours ago. First of all, a little backstory. I'm a 25 years old male who lives in Iran, which is a very shitty country to live or to be born in. Everything here sucks and is incredibly hard, including finding a job. I have been unemployed since COVID hit my country, and just recently I managed to finally find a job. COVID is still raging here, since they won't vaccinate us, so most times we work from home. I was dating this girl for about 9 months, which I know isn't a long time, but since I'm leaving the country in a few months forever, I really invested myself into this relationship because we planned to leave together and everything was going so smoothly. My anxiety was practically gone and I was really happy after a really long life of being depressed. Yesterday, out of nowhere she breaks up with me and tells me that she isn't feeling the relationship anymore and that I'm a really good guy and she doesn't want to hurt my feelings in the long run. Which destroys me, but I understand. I tell her to give us another chance and she says no, it's better this way. She's a very honest person, so I believe her and leave. I accept the outcome even though I immediately start crying. Anyway, today I'm still pretty bummed out, but I gotta go to the office for a couple of hours and my boss is there to help me, which is a big relief since I really didn't feel like working. I take a smoke break and get reminded of some memories and I start crying a little bit. I go back upstairs and my boss immediately finds out that I've been crying and insists on me telling him what happened, which I do. He looks me dead in the eyes and says, "Wow, you were crying over that? Such a weak person. I don't think you are a good fit for the company if that's the stuff you are worried about. I think you should leave." At this point I start laughing, cause this is clearly a joke, right? Right? Wrong. He looked at me like I'm insane and asked me to leave immediately. So I pack up my stuff and do as I'm told. Yesterday I had a girlfriend whom I loved and a job and a good future ahead of me. Now I'm just a guy who has to leave his country and everyone he loves because he was born in one of the worst places possible and he's doing it completely alone and broken. Honestly, maybe boys should not cry. TLDR, my girlfriend broke up with me. I opened up to my boss and he thought I was weak so he fired me. Edit. Wow, you guys made my day a million times better. I'd give you all hugs and golds if internationally usable credit cards were a thing here and I could buy Reddit coins. But since that's not possible, I'll send all my love. Edit 2, holy hit, this blew up. You guys are amazing. Thanks for all the awards and kind words. I have learned so much by just reading your replies and I have definitely gained a new perspective on my life. I will cherish your words forever. Also, I'm sorry if I can't reply to all your kind comments. I will try my best to reply to as many as I can. Also, for people who ask, I'm moving to Germany on a school scholarship and will definitely update you all beautiful people. Much love to all of you. Commenter 1. Not a fuck up, it provided you with a direction your life should not be going, with that girl or that company of employment. This is a great step in the right direction, a direction that may seem invisible right now, but you will get there just by following through with your plan. This fuck up, as you called it, is actually cleaning things up for you so you can leave Iran without anything tying you down or holding you back. Commenter 2. A few months ago I had an employee hit a really rough patch with his lady. He called me up in the middle of the night asking if I could pick him up because he had to leave his house. This guy is tough, spent time in prison, tattoos from head to toe, left his past behind and has become an honest person bettering himself every day. When I picked him up, I took him over to the bar I run, sat him down with a big glass of water and he cried. He cried hard, loud, painful, sobbing, snot bubbles out the nose cry. I sat and listened, refilled his water and listened more. His mom had died the month before from COVID and it was taking its toll on his relationship since his whole extended family all shared the same roof. I never thought less of this man, not even once, because he showed that side of him to me. I made sure he got back home okay once he cried it out and calmed down, and the next day he worked. He came into my office and gave me a hug and said, "Bro, I've never had a boss like you, man. You have no idea what that meant to me. I had none else to call. Thank you, man. Bro, I love you for what you did. TLDR, I had bosses like yours that taught me to be a better person. Good luck on your journey." To fool by getting fired because I cried. I was contemplating not making this update because it's not the type of, it all worked out at the end update, but since I promised one, here you go. Okay, when I created the original post, it was me shouting in the dark, and I didn't expect it to blow up, but it did, and you guys helped me through a lot of my anxiety. A couple of people even stayed in touch, and I gave them updates here and there. I wish I could have told you things worked out and I'm happy in Germany starting a new life, but that didn't happen. I will break this up into a timeline so it's easy to follow. September 2021, I found a job a month after I posted the original thread in a company based in the US. It was a remote job, and the CEO was Iranian. We were not documented, which is fine because most of the time, Iranian CEOs hire people outside of the US to pay them way less. This happens a lot. The pay was about $160 a month, and we had no benefits, but whatever, I was trying to save money to get out as soon as possible. March 2022, I started applying for schools in Germany and was confident I would get in because a couple of years ago, my brother went through the same process and got in easily. I applied to 9 universities. A few rejected me because of my GPA, which is fair, and a few others accepted my application. Now at this time, my undergraduate degree isn't ready because, in Iran, it takes a ridiculous amount of time and effort for you to get your degree. May 2022, a small protest happens outside of my school in support of a girl who was sexually assaulted. But since the asshole who did that to her had a powerful dad, the girl got arrested and he didn't face any consequences. Also, since no news outlet covered it, we all gathered to support her. Long story short, I was arrested and expelled, which resulted in me not getting my diploma. Naturally, in a couple of months, the 2 schools that accepted my provisional application without my degree wanted my degree, and I couldn't provide it, so understandably, they had to move forward with other applicants. I also left my job because I realized we were being overworked for little to no money. Whenever we ask for a raise, they always find a way not to do it, and honestly, the CEO has promised every employee that he'd help them move to the U.S. at some point, which is obviously a lie. And they just want us to work for them as much as we can until they can afford actual on-site employees. September 2022, protests break out, and I leave Iran for a neighboring country because it will not be safe for me since I'm fairly active on social media about the whole situation and a few thousand people follow me. 3 days after I left, they showed up at my house back in Iran and demanded to arrest me, but luckily I wasn't there. If I go back to Iran, I won't make it past airport security. For the past 2 months, I have been trying to find a job, but I haven't been successful. I have a half-decent resume, but I keep getting rejected because of the country I'm in right now. I'm exhausted and out of options. I'm burning through my savings, and in a few weeks, I'm either going to have to be homeless or go back to Iran to get arrested. I'm in a really dark place and have little to no hope for what's to come. I miss my friends and my family. I just wanted a normal life. I know I'm being pathetic, and I didn't want to post this. I wanted to have something good happen so I could update you guys with happy news, but everything keeps getting worse. This will probably be my last post on this matter and on Reddit. Sorry if I let you guys down. TLDR, got fired from university because of protests, didn't get my undergraduate degree, and couldn't move to Germany. Went to a neighboring country where I'm in the verge of becoming homeless or going back to Iran, where I'll 100% be arrested. Commenter 1. Go to an embassy and seek asylum somewhere. Whatever you do, don't go back to Iran. Reply. I don't think I can do that since there are no records of me being arrested or even the arrest warrant. They do that so you specifically can't request asylum. A good lawyer can probably get the records, but I can't afford that. New update. To fool by getting fired because I cried. First of all, I'm writing this here because I can't, for the life of me, figure out how to post on any of the previous subreddits without it getting removed. I don't think this will reach far, but to those who are interested, here we go. Okay, so basically, 3 years ago, I posted the original post on Artful. A tiny TLDR for those who have no clue what I'm talking about. I'm from Iran, and 2 years ago, when life was really getting me down, I cried in front of my boss, and he fired me. Then, people encouraged me to leave Iran and pursue happiness somewhere else. In the following months, protests broke out, and because I was heavily involved in the protests, I got fired from the university, and the move to Germany was off. I had to move to a neighboring country with nothing in my pockets. I became homeless and lost everything. I was on the verge of ending everything when I made a small update, and initially, it went unnoticed, but somebody reposted it on here, drawing attention to it. Since my original post was removed, it still is up here. Now, let's get back to what has happened since then. A couple of very kind Redditors reached out and helped me through those tough times, for which I will be immensely thankful forever. If it weren't for them, I'd either be dead or not where I am today. A couple of months after my post, I found someone who provided me with shelter and food in exchange for work on his farm. I also started tutoring his daughter, for which he paid me, and I saved up bit by bit. In the meantime, I managed to obtain my university transcripts from Iran, had them translated, and applied to 2 universities in Germany. I had little to no hope considering where life had put me. I missed home, I missed family, but bit by bit, things were looking up. I got accepted into one of those universities, obtained my visa after 2 months, and now I'm in Germany. I did it. Finally. Now I had a small problem of having to block 12,000 euros in a bank account to show them I can financially support myself. Obviously, I could not have, and I had a very tiny portion of that money. I did everything to get that money, so I borrowed it from whoever I could. It felt terrible to do so, but I just had to get to somewhere safe. Also, the way that system works guaranteed that I could not have been able to pay it back soon, so it was a nightmare. But I got it done anyway. And now I'm in Germany. I do have a pretty dainty debt problem, but I am here nonetheless. In fact, I have been here for a year and studying and finding a place and friends and everything. Since I didn't speak a word of German and lived in a very small town, I only recently was able to find a job, and the debt problem still remains, but it's been great otherwise. I have more freedom and security than I have ever had. I even found someone, and we are really happy together. I have to mention though that 2 years ago, I was deeply involved in the protests in Iran, mainly on social media. For my safety, I couldn't disclose my whereabouts, but now I can and I want to. I was in Turkey, and life was tough. However, some people in this country are just incredible. They took me in and helped me a lot, and at times, it even felt like home. So, to the people of Turkey, thank you for that. I had to hide from the VIA, IR Ministry of Intelligence, because they wouldn't leave me be, and you really helped me with that. For my next chapter, not that anybody cares, I have decided to change everything and start from the ground up. I'm going to pursue politics and make real change happen because I don't want anyone to go through what I have. I know it's near impossible to achieve, but that doesn't mean I won't try. I really want to help my people, and that's going to be my life's purpose now. Being in debt is a little scary. I hope I can manage to get out of it. But hey, I survived far worse things, so fingers crossed, I hope I can manage. I want to thank the incredible people who helped me during this time. TLDR, after being fired from my job and university, living in exile away from my beloved country, I've moved to Germany to pursue my passion and help my people in the long run. I've kept going, and I have no intention of stopping now. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm so glad to hear things are looking up for you, and you're safe in Germany. I hope you continue to do well and make a positive impact on those around you. Reply. Thank you. You really helped by reposting it. Otherwise things would have ended long ago. Very grateful. Commenter 2. I had a time in my life a little like that. Nothing was as extreme as what you went through, but I thought about ending it after a dark time in my life. Someone noticed and offered their friendship, and that saved me. Because of that, I try to find others who are in need and help however I can. It's part of the reason I chose to be a teacher. I know you'll do great things in the future, big and small. Stories number 29. Aita for being so happy my mom left her husband and chose me over him and his daughter. I wanna know if I'm TA for the way I feel and acted or not, but I should give some background. My mom has custody of me, 16F, but she's not my biological or even my legal mom. She's technically my ex-stepmom who I met when I was 6. She was married to my dad for 3 years and had my brother, 7, with him. My biological parents were both shitty. They fought over me a lot. My dad did a great job of acting like he cared about me and fought for me instead of using me to fight with the other co-creator of me. But as my mom learned, they were both equally bad for that. The only difference is she, physically abused me too. She tried to alienate me from mom and was really bitter about me liking my mom. Her abusing me wasn't just a once-off, but there were always things that happened. While my mom was married to my dad, it was the worst, and my bio lost custody of me while mom and dad were still married, but when she realized he didn't care, she left him and he offered to sign me over if she'd accept getting no child support for me or my brother. Mom agreed to keep me safe and she's been my mom ever since. Mom tried to legally adopt me a few times, but bio refused to sign away her rights and the courts let her keep them even though she has no custody of me. The fact I wanted to be adopted didn't matter either. But mom said it was okay, we could do an adult adoption when I'm older if I really want to, but I'm still her little girl. Mom met her husband 4 years ago. He was divorced 2 times already. He has full custody of his 14-year-old daughter and he shares custody of his 11-year-old daughter and 9 and 8-year-old sons. My brother immediately got super close to mom's husband and they had a close bond, so I sorta hid how shitty things were. But her husband's 14-year-old daughter bullied me. She knew I wasn't mom's bio kid or legal kid and she would taunt me about it. She wanted mom for herself because her ex-stepmom didn't want anything to do with her and neither did her mom. My mom treated her well and they had built up a relationship, and it did hurt my feelings because she was so awful about it. But I kept the bullying from mom because I knew she'd leave to protect me and I didn't want to take away my brother's chance to have both parents. But once my brother realized what was going on, he was different toward mom's husband's daughter, which made mom start asking questions and I tried to hide it. Until the end of last year when my mom heard her husband's daughter taunting me about not being mom's real kid and saying how she'd be the new daughter and I'd be sent away because I wasn't needed anymore. She said she could win my brother over and replace me as his sister too and I'd have nobody. She said I could go back to my real mom so she could beat me more. That stuff was said a lot when the adults couldn't hear. Mom and her husband sat her down and talked to her, but she was spewing a lot of shit when she realized mom didn't buy that I was bullying her. When she said I was the kid nobody would ever want and she was so much better and she could prove it by being a better sister, my mom told her husband they had to live apart until he could fix her behavior. She started crying, which made him try to defend her. He said I was older and could handle, but she couldn't lose another mom. While mom said she had to stand by me and do right by me as the only parent I had. He wanted things to stay the same, his daughter wanted me gone, and mom, my brother and I moved out. Mom and him have talked in therapy a few times since. But she keeps me and my brother away from it even if it upsets my brother not to see her husband. But she doesn't want him around his daughter who is always there because she wants my mom to come back and be her mom. I saw her at school last week when she came to the building I have classes in, we have 2 at my school. She wasn't supposed to be there, but she wanted to fight me and got loud enough that teachers made her leave. But she hadn't realized mom filed for divorce and she was saying how unfair it was that mom chose me, and I told her I was glad and I couldn't wait until it was all over and how mom chose me just like I knew she would. It upset her a lot. Then her dad was on the phone to mom a lot over the last few days saying I shouldn't be so happy about it and his daughter is younger and I should be more understanding. Mom stood up for me and I was glad. He wanted mom to visit his daughter and talk to her at least once before it was all officially over, but mom said no. She said she was standing by me. I was glad. But it made me wonder if maybe I'm a bad person because I am 2 years older and she was already rejected 2 times before. Stories number 30. Aita for telling my mill it's not my fault she married a deadbeat and to figure it out. So I'm 25 and my husband is 28. We just had our first baby 4 days ago. I've just been released from the hospital yesterday. My MIL is bombarding my husband with calls because she's old and sick and wants him to take care of her. My husband took 2 weeks off work to stay home with me and the baby to care for me after the C-section and bond with our daughter. MIL took that as him being free and available and refuses to acknowledge that he's not on vacation. It hasn't been easy. There were complications and I lost a lot of blood. I'm in a lot of pain to the point where I can't even stand up on my own. Our baby is very fussy and crying a lot. We're not really sleeping because she literally cries every hour. The first time MIL called was literally 3 minutes after I gave birth and wanted him to go to her because she wasn't feeling well. She kept calling every hour when I was still in the hospital. My husband stayed with me the entire time because, like I said, I lost a lot of blood and wasn't feeling well. He put his phone on DND and didn't turn it on until I was discharged. We were still in the hospital parking lot when she called. He answered, and when he explained the situation she lost her absolute mind and he ended the call. She hasn't stopped calling him and he blocked her number last night at 4 a.m. after 73 calls from her. She started calling me this morning and I tried to be polite, but after 15 calls between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. where she called me names, yelled at me and insulted me, I snapped and told her to leave us alone because we have a newborn at home. She said she doesn't understand why he can't go to her because her husband never took care of her after she gave birth and wasn't really involved with the kids until they were 3 to 4 years old, and I told her it's not my fault she married and had kids with a deadbeat and to leave us alone and figure her own shit out like an adult. My husband is on my side, but we're obviously biased considering the amount of stress we're under at the moment, so I'm asking because I don't know if it's just the stress and the hormones and we're actually the problem, or she is out of her mind to expect my husband to leave me alone at home in this condition. I'm posting here because I need unbiased opinions. I feel like an ass for what I said, and even if it's deserved I shouldn't have worded my frustrations better. Stories number 31. Got cut off at the security checkpoint. I got petty and skipped her carry-ons. A quick petty revenge. I was going through security checkpoint and the line was getting long and we have to bend around the corner so that we don't block foot traffic. Then this old woman decided she was too good to walk around the corner and queue from the back and just decided to cut right in front of me as I was passing the corner. I tried telling her the line was at the back nicely, but she literally just dropped her carry-on and walked to the front of the line to get to the security body check. She was probably thinking we would just push your bags along. She technically didn't just cut in front of me, she was cutting in front of everyone while expecting us chums to push her bag through. I did initially pushed her bag for a while but decided fuck that and skipped her bags. The woman behind me saw what I did and she too skipped her bags. When I got through the security check I saw her anxiously looking around for her bag. She then approached me asking where her bag. I just simply told her she got the wrong person and walked away. Edit. Just to clarify a few things, my initial post was vague about. She left her bag in the plastic basket and left it on the metal roller where the rest of us would slowly push our bags into the scanner. We haven't reached the conveyor belt yet, so we still have to manually push the bag's basket towards the conveyor belt. Yeah, so she just cut in front of me with the basket, left it at the metal rollers and left. I spoke up but she turned around and didn't care and just left. Stories number 32. My elderly and disabled neighbor keeps asking us for favors and I'm sick of it. I'm sympathetic to her situation, I really am. It really seems like she has no support network. But asking us for money, asking us to buy her cigarettes, asking my husband to cook her dinner for her, asking us to pick up her grocery list for her, I'm so sick of her taking advantage of my husband's kindness. I stopped being sympathetic a long time ago. Today she asked my husband to help her stir her soup since she has trouble standing for long periods of time. He agreed, but after he got to her unit she started complaining about how the vegetables needed to be cut and washed and etc., so after like a minute he just said he needed to get back to sorting some personal business and left. I was really grateful to him that he took a stand and set a boundary. I dread when she knocks on our door, multiple times a week. I just want to live in privacy and peace and to be left alone. The favors started out small and harmless, like helping her carry her groceries up her stairs, to helping her move a dresser by a foot, no big deal. The requests came rarely at first, but lately she's been constantly at our door. I'm going to speak to my husband about just not opening the door anymore. She owes us money and I don't even want it back. At this point I just want peace and I don't even care if I'm considered a horrible person for not helping out someone in need. Stories number 33. My mother keeps calling my university telling them that I'm dead. My mother started showing signs of mental illness back in December. She will call my phone constantly in the middle of the night saying really irrational things like how my heart wasn't beating and how I was dead and just all this other stuff that didn't make sense. I will try to talk some sense into her so that I can explain to her that what she was saying wasn't making any sense. I had a feeling that it was a mental health concern, but I didn't take it too seriously until my mom called me and incoherently crying and it sounded really serious. I didn't understand her, so I got scared and called the cops to do a mental health check on her. It was obvious that something was wrong, but because she said that she wasn't suicidal or threat to anyone, they left and they didn't question it. Since then she has gotten a lot worse mentally. She would start calling me constantly to the point where it would wake me up in the middle of the night, and it was in the middle of classes. She refused to get help or get seen, and she was overwhelming me so badly that I blocked her number. Since then, she has been calling my university that I've been staying at full time, and she's been making claims that I am dead or that there's something wrong with me. This is obviously a very serious claim, and it gets the police involved. She knows that I blocked her number, and I explained to her why I wasn't speaking to her. I have asked her to stop calling my school, telling them that there's something wrong with me when there's not, because the consequences could be on me mostly. Since then, she has called my school almost 5 times making claims that I have died. I don't know what to do because the police won't take documentation that my mother is mentally ill, so they take the claim serious every single time, and they will show up at my dorm trying to do mental health checks on me. I don't know what to do because I've tried to ask my mother to stop calling the school and she won't stop. Even family has gotten involved and is worried about her and have told her to stop, but she won't. Edit. Thank you everyone for the advice. I just updated the cops and I just got finished speaking to the cop, and now that they know that she is mentally ill and she was harassing me, they may be able to do a report for the next time she calls. So no one gets sent to my dorm at least. It's a little late where I'm at right now, but tomorrow I am going to call one of the resource lines that you guys have mentioned. My aunt also mentioned that she may have early onset dementia because she is only 49 right now. My aunt said that she was hearing voices and sometimes she didn't know where she was, and she is dealing with extreme paranoia to the point where she get a job and it's going to be homeless soon. Edit 2. I should also add that I am 19 years old and I'm currently in a different city for college, so my mother is in my home city and I'm 3 hours away, so it's not like I can just leave and go around the corner to go see my mother. In order for me to handle all of this legal stuff and to legally become a caretaker for her, I would need to drop out of college just to care for her, and I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with doing that considering how hard I've worked. Final update. Hello everyone, I just want to thank everyone for the advice. A lot of it was amazing and it truly would have been so helpful. I unblocked my mom for one last-ditch effort to see if she would budge about willingly being evaluated. My mother wasn't having an episode when I called, so I was able to have a genuine conversation with her. We basically had an hour-long conversation about me asking her to stop calling the school and the consequences of her doing that. I tried to get her to see that there was something mentally wrong, an illness or disease. Every time I tried to talk about her mental health, she would switch the subject to how poor she was and how she wanted money and help. I tried to mention to her that other people are noticing her sudden behavior change and that she is the only one that is unaware. I asked her about her family history with dementia and she went mute when I asked that question. I feel like she knows deep down that something is wrong, but all she said was, "I don't know." I think it's because she may be afraid of being labeled, but I'm not really sure. I asked her one final time if she would consider being evaluated and warn her about the consequences of staying undiagnosed. She did not care. I realized to show her how serious I was about how much I wanted her to get help, I gave her an ultimatum. She goes to get evaluated willingly and I will support her with whatever she may need after her diagnosis, or she stays in the dark with her illness and her life will slowly get worse. I told her that if she chooses the second option, then I no longer want her in my life. I won't sit around and watch someone willingly destroy themselves and their lives. My mother is a grown woman, and she can make her own choices. She has made it clear that she has no intentions on helping herself. And I can't force her to do anything that she doesn't want to do. If she ever decides that she wants help, then she will have to go on her own, when she's ready. I made it clear that it may be the last conversation that we may have for a few months or a year because of this choice. I am extremely disappointed in my mother's decision, but there is only so much that I can do. Stories number 34. My exile F31 disinvited my wife F28 from her baby shower after a joke, but my brother M35 still wants me M30 to go. I am stuck in the middle. I M30 recently married the love of my life F28, and I'm super close with my brother M35. We always imagined our families being close too, until one single lunch ruined everything. So, my wife and I went out to eat with my brother and my sil F31, who is pregnant and about to give birth to my first nephew. Needless to say, we are all very excited. Mid-meal, my brother, probably feeling sentimental, goes, "Man, I hope the baby turns out like me. He was such a cute kid." Now, a bit about my SAL. She's usually nice and I like her, but she's definitely type A and a bit high maintenance. Without missing a beat, she shuts my brother down. "No, I'd much rather he turns out like you." A bit of an awkward comment, and my brother probably thought so as well, so he goes, "No, seriously, we'd be lucky if the kid was like me." He was such a nice and cute kid. And then, SIL doubles down, no, but you're so much more handsome, before turning to look directly at me and adding, no offense. Now, look. I wasn't deeply offended, my brother is a very good-looking guy, so I get it. But who just says that out loud? My wife, who had been quiet up to this point, clearly found it rude. So she jokingly goes, well, as long as the baby doesn't look like SIL, we should be fine. I chuckled. My brother laughed. SIL did not laugh. She immediately got pissed, glared at my wife, and went, what the hell does that mean? That's extremely rude. We're not close enough for jokes like that. My wife was taken aback and so was I. My brother tried to say something but she stormed out. My brother followed her, looking about as confused as I felt. Fast forward to today, SIL has officially disinvited my wife from the baby shower celebration. My wife says she doesn't even want to go, which, fair enough. My brother is devastated and really wants me to be there. Now, here's the thing, my brother adores me. He's always been my biggest supporter, and he wants me to be a big part of my nephew's life. He's having his first child, and this moment is really important to him. I love my brother too and can't see him sad like that. He says both my wife and SIL need to apologize eventually, but we shouldn't force it right now and give them some time to cool off. He also thinks SIL owes me an apology for what she said, but again, pregnancy hormones or whatever, so he doesn't want to push it yet. My parents actually side with my wife and think SIL was out of line first. But they also believe I shouldn't miss such a huge moment in my brother's life, and that we should cut SIL some slack because of her pregnancy. Here's my issue, I don't feel right going if my wife isn't welcome. I want to support her, but I also know this moment means the world to my brother. If I go, my wife might feel abandoned. If I don't, my brother will be heartbroken. I feel completely stuck. Added comments. Commenter, what does your wife think? Does she want you to go? Me personally, I would ask my husband to go because I wouldn't want to rob him of that opportunity with his own brother, especially if I didn't even care to attend said baby shower to begin with. It wouldn't hurt me in the slightest, I'd be home drinking wine waiting for the gossip when he is back. But that's me, and she is her, so I think you should ask her honestly what she thinks and feels about you going and honor whatever she says because well, that's your person now. Reply, knowing my wife, she will definitely say that I should go. But I also feel that deep down she will feel that I didn't stuck up for her while she did stuck up for me. Commenter, why does your brother think his wife owes your wife an apology? She said the comment to you, not your wife. Reply, I think he meant as a general apology to both of us and for escalating the situation. To be fair, I wasn't really offended. I am not insecure about my looks and I am glad that my SIL finds my brother more attractive, that's the way it should be. But what my SIL said did kind of offend my wife and hence, the stupid argument. Update, TLDR at the bottom. Thanks, everyone, for the replies. I think I read almost every single one. I really appreciated the different perspectives. First, some clarifications. My wife is not a mean person. She made a joke in the moment, although I admit that it wasn't a great joke given the sensitivity of the situation. But she's genuinely one of the kindest, most caring people I know. That's one of the reasons I love her so much. I don't think my brother did anything wrong by bringing up the topic. We were reminiscing about childhood, and he probably got nostalgic about having his little brother following him everywhere. My brother and I resemble each other quite a bit, though he's definitely the better looking one, funny how that works. And just to be clear, that doesn't mean I'm insecure. If anything, he's the outlier, he's one of those people who naturally turns heads. Even when we were younger, he'd get random girls hitting on him wherever he went. It was such a running joke in our family that even my parents would tease him about it. The entire conversation lasted less than 5 minutes and escalated very quickly. I agree with the comments that all of us should have handled the situation better. But easier to say that in hindsight. In real time, things just got out of hand very quickly. I am sure that all of us regret what we said in the moment. Now for the actual update. I told my wife that I wouldn't go unless she was also invited. She immediately told me that she didn't want to be the reason I missed it and that I should go if I wanted to. She even said she'd be willing to apologize if my SIL was open to it, but that she wouldn't attend even if reinvented because she'd feel uncomfortable. I told her I appreciated that, but for me, it was both of us or none of us. Then I called my brother, and this is where I have to give him a lot of credit, because I know he was upset. He had really wanted me there, and I could hear the disappointment in his voice. But instead of pushing, he just said, I get it, man. Don't worry about it. I know that wasn't easy for him to say. He had to balance keeping things calm with his wife while also wanting his brother by his side. But he didn't guilt-trip me, didn't try to convince me otherwise, he just let me make my choice. He even said, "Don't worry, we'll save you guys some food and I'll drop it off later." I offered to help with setup if he needed it, and told him to say I have COVID to avoid awkward questions. He just laughed and said, "Got it. You caught the world's shortest COVID, just long enough for the baby shower but miraculously recovered the next day." Now, here's where things got a bit more complicated. My mom was not happy with him for not sorting this out earlier. She felt like he should have stepped in and made peace before it got to the point where my wife was uninvited. But my parents didn't say anything directly because they didn't want to get involved in the drama. I think that really weighed on him. He was already trying to navigate a tough situation, and now he had our parents silently judging him too. It put him in an impossible position, trying to be a good husband, a good brother, and a good son all at once. A couple of days passed with no further drama. Then something unexpected happened. My wife got a call from my exile. At first, my wife panicked, thinking she was about to get yelled at. But instead, they actually had a really good conversation. I overheard bits of it, including my wife saying, "No, you're gorgeous," which made me laugh a little. After the call, my wife told me that Asiel actually apologized first. She admitted that she'd been feeling really self-conscious about her looks during pregnancy and that my wife's joke had hit a sore spot. A little later, my brother called me. He told me that he had gently talked to Asiel and helped her see that things had gotten out of hand. He also told me that knowing my wife was willing to apologize had made a huge difference. And then, he admitted something. He had wanted to fix things before the baby shower, but he knew his wife was already under a lot of stress. He didn't want to add more pressure on her while she was in the middle of planning. And honestly, I respect that. My Asiel is one of those people who needs everything to be perfect. Her look, my brother's look, the house, the decorations, etc. So I can understand the pressure she must have put on herself. And my brother knew that pushing her while she was stressed wouldn't have helped, so he waited. And after the event, when things calmed down, he quietly stepped in and fixed things. So where do things stand now? Things seem good on the surface. My wife and Asiel made peace, and my brother and I are fine. My wife and I have decided to just be extra sensitive around Asiel given what she is going through. All in all, the situation seems to have brought us somewhat closer together. The real takeaway, I have an amazing wife, but her humor could use some work. Also, my brother ain't too bad. Side note, speaking of whom, my brother will probably never see this because he only uses Reddit for sports and news, or so he says, but in the off chance he does, well, guess I'm busted. But since I have your attention, I'll admit something just this once. You are the best bro I could have asked for. That time you helped me for uni, I don't think you know how much it really meant to me. And when I was at a really low point, you stood by me. I don't think I've ever said it, but I've always appreciated that. Of course, I won't ever admit this in person and will forever deny I ever wrote this. TLDR, my Asiel uninvited my wife from her baby shower after a joke. My brother wanted me to come anyway, but I refused to go without my wife. It caused some tension, but after a few unexpected conversations, things actually worked out, and I came out of it appreciating my brother even more. Stories number 35. Aita for not giving my cat back to the breeder. Backstory, we've always wanted a Maine Coon. Got one a few years ago that turned out to be a wish. One of our acquaintances runs a Maine Coon cattery and due to lack of genetic diversity needed to rehome their 2 male cats. We were offered one of the males at an extremely reduced rate, to ensure that he went somewhere where he would A. Be treated like a prince and B. Be neutered, and not just bred again. Important context, we have a very skittish, came from a hoarding colony, seized by the council cat. She's a rescue and our little angel who can do no wrong. She's also not fond of other cats but tolerates cat number 2 who's affectionately known as the bitchcraft. We thanked them for thinking of us as suitable and asked if he could come on a few days trial to see how the cat's chemistry would be. 1. February. Turns out he's a total himbo and a very submissive cat, so while she isn't fond of him, she's also very quickly realized that he's not going to try and beat her. We accepted, and thought that was that. Yesterday, 19/2, we got a message that they would like him back, for a few days, because one of their girls weren't pregnant like they thought she was. We're super hesitant, as they've only just started gelling plus he's scheduled to be neutered this coming Monday. They then pushed on that they could pick him up in the morning and drop him off at night and that he'd get the job done. We again said that we're not comfortable with him leaving the house and they asked if they could instead bring the female to our house to breed. Our girls are scheduled to be out of the house for a few hours this weekend, so we agreed, but now they're talking about taking him with them. We're super uncomfortable with the whole situation since it was stipulated by them to get him neutered ASAP and now they want him back. We're also worried they'd keep him beyond the scheduled time if he doesn't breed her and then he'd miss his neuter. They're being super pushy and now doing some weird, do you know how much these cats sell for? Spiel. Our argument is that he's only just stopped calling for his old household and that our girls would lose their mind if he came back smelling weird again. He's also just a little baby cat, too, and is entitled. Stories number 36. My 36F mom died and my fiancé, 34M, has basically disappeared for the whole week since. What are your thoughts? The story is basically all in the title. My mom died a week ago. At first when I told my fiancé about it, through text, he said, let me know if you need anything. Then after that he started more or less ignoring stonewalling me. I called him multiple times over the past week and he ignored each one. I kept sending follow-up texts saying variations of, hey, can you call me when you get a chance? I really need support right now. He only responded twice to these messages, each time it was over 24 hours after I had sent them and each time he said, sorry I've just been swamped at work. I also know that this isn't true. He's had 2 days off this past week. He also hasn't called me back or really shown any sort of interest in what is going on. I find this too baffling to even know what to do. My guess is he's one of these people who doesn't deal with death traumatic incidents well. And perhaps he's embarrassed to even admit that I know he struggles with shame and anxiety, but to not even send me a note like, hey, I'm not available right now I hope you're well, is just too much. What would you all do? Stories number 37. Aita for telling my boss that if she wants this little girl to be suspended, she can tell the parents herself. I'm the lead teacher in a 2-year-old room at a daycare. I have a little girl in my class, Sophie, that has had an issue with biting the past couple days. Sophie is usually very sweet and she's very intelligent, she's almost fully potty trained at 28 months old, but she has a pretty severe speech delay and her mom was taken to the hospital by ambulance last weekend and Sophie hasn't seen her since the ambulance took her because the hospital doesn't allow children under 5 to visit. All of this is to say I strongly believe the biting is a reaction to the mom's hospitalization and her inability to communicate. The way biting is typically handled is the parents get a warning after the first incident, they're suspended for 2 days after the second incident, and we consider expulsion after the third incident. Everything up to expulsion is up to the lead teacher though, since our boss is never here. Whenever Sophie bites, I still have her grandma sign the incident report but I don't suspend her. On Wednesday Sophie bit a boy whose mom is friends with my boss. His mom complained to my boss about the bite and my boss told the mom Sophie would be suspended. The boy got to school yesterday and saw Sophie so my boss got another complaint because Sophie is still there. Then my boss contacted me and told me I need to have Sophie's parents pick her up because her friend is upset but I refused. I explained their situation to my boss so she might have a bit of sympathy but she still insisted that Sophie couldn't be there. I told her that I refuse to suspend her while her mom is in the hospital and that if she wants Sophie to be suspended that badly she can come down here and do it herself. Sophie is not suspended but I still have to deal with a pissed off mom and my boss is upset so I wanted to know if I am wrong for refusing to suspend Sophie. Stories number 38. The men in our office use the women's bathrooms only for pooping. This is something that has bothered me for quite a long time, and I don't know if there was any way to address it differently. I no longer work in this office, but I am still close with several people there, and am at a loss that this continues. To be blunt, the men in the office specifically use the women's restroom when they need to take it too. I can't believe I have to say that. It's a small business with about 20 people and only 3 women. There are 2 restrooms, one for men and one for women. Now seeing as how there's significantly more men than women, I would not be against gender-neutral restrooms. Whatever. But that's not the case. And here's what's happening, when the gentlemen need to use the restroom for that longer period of time, they use the women's room. Not just a few of the guys, we started trying to get a pulse on whether or not this was one person being weird or if it was a more widespread issue, and it's widespread. This is probably half the men in the office. Why is this a problem? Well, we have a cleaning crew that comes in once a week and restocks the restrooms and all that. We women do a little extra cleaning, make sure we have toilet paper, etc., while the men do not. If I have to use the restroom and it's occupied by a dude taking his time, seriously, 30+ minutes sometimes, I do not want to use their gross restroom with pee on the seat that doesn't have toilet paper in it. Somehow they are able to make it disgusting within a day of it being cleaned, and if I wait for the bathroom to open up, they will use the women's room even if the men's room is open, doing a potty dance at my desk. The smell is horrific. Because I lived close by, there were times I literally went home to use the restroom because I was waiting for so long. I have no issue with the guys using the women's room if the men's room is in use. I get it. If you have to go, you have to go. But using it exclusively as the place you take a dump for 30 minutes is just beyond crazy to me. So we women talked to our boss, who is the CEO, and an email was sent out saying, hey, if the men's room is occupied, sure, use the women's room, but please keep it clean and please do not utilize the women's room when you need some extra time. Did things improve? Not even a bit. And what's worse, one day when we were potty dancing around, out of the women's room walks the CEO. We mentioned it again, and he said he would bring it up with the manager of the tech team, all dudes, to talk to them again, but there's been no change. Like I said, I don't work there anymore, but my friends do. We are brainstorming trying to come up with something, anything, to try and get through to people that this is weird and shouldn't be done. Please Allison, do you have any advice for this insanity? Update 1. I have an update on already. First off, thank you to all the commenters who confirmed that our feelings that this whole situation was ridiculous were valid. Sometimes we felt like we were going crazy. The AAM community also picked up on something quite accurately. There were serious issues of misogyny taking place in the workplace beyond the bathrooms. I could spend a ton of time on that, but I will just leave it at this. I didn't particularly consider the bathroom issue to be related to those issues of sexism, but some very valid points were made. C. Calliope nailed it on the head in their comment. Is anything actually more petty than pooping in a place that is specifically delimited for use by other people? It is literally how animals assert dominance. Also, I don't know why we never just suggested that the bathroom be cleaned more often. Seriously, such a simple solution, and it never occurred to us that once a week wasn't enough, for some reason. Well, I have some exciting news that is not directly related to the bathroom situation but a change to the overall workplace which has made an impact. The owners, including the CEO who was a culprit in the bathroom situation, decided to sell the business. The new owners, 2 men and 1 woman, are wonderful and immediately stepped in and made changes for the employees that were incredible. Better benefits and even better pay for people who, after learning about their duties, they identified as underpaid. Everyone there is really excited. But here's the really fun part. Former CFO, a blatant sexist who made inappropriate comments and called people, mostly women, stupid, apparently had a little trouble letting go. He tried to refuse to give his passwords to the financial systems over after the sale was finalized. He came into the office after he was supposed to be officially out and went to his old office, continued to refuse to give over his passwords and his building key. He had the only master key. The only one of the new owners who was in the office was the woman, whom I will call Shara. Shara excused herself from a meeting when she was notified that old CFO was in his old office and went to speak to him. According to my friend, there was door slamming and screaming from him. I wish I could be a fly on the wall as a woman told this sexist jerk that he needed to act like a grown-up and get out. After he left, they called a locksmith to change the building locks, changed the security codes, disabled all his accounts, etc. etc. It was truly a glorious day that I lived vicariously through my friend. So in a short period of time the new owners have already changed the culture of the workplace. It's no nonsense and the employees feel taken care of and respected. The bathroom issue specifically isn't resolved necessarily, but I have a feeling that just the new atmosphere of respect will have an impact. Update 2. I am sad to say that Shara and the other new owners were not all that they seemed. By all accounts, things were pretty great for a couple months after the old owners were out, and the entire debacle from my last update about her having to throw out the former CFO who was having a tantrum was pretty wonderful. Employees were happy, there was pay parity, and good benefits. Sadly, this is not a fairy tale. Quick backstory, the new owners also owned another business and this one is their second. The other business is the home office and they spend most of their time there, and it's a couple of hours away. The business is similar but not the same. Because of this, I guess they now started to look at everyone in this office as working remotely, despite them working in the same location they've always been working in, with the same managers, etc. But they didn't hire those managers and they had trust issues. Work started being distributed in ways that made no sense, and they started interjecting into client communications and negotiations without really being fully present and understanding the situations, which resulted in some losses, and then they decided that firing some of the existing managers and bringing in new ones would solve their problems. My friend was pretty unhappy with the way things were going down, including some issues with a new PTO policy, which was illegal, by the way, but she was sticking it out as any type of acquisition is expected to cause some turmoil. Then Shara, and I now regret giving her that pseudonym, made her stance on things particularly well known by accidentally emailing my friend instead of one of the other owners, and the email contained a list of complaints about her, things like not responding to emails fast enough being within minutes, written in a less than professional tone. They were trying to micromanage from a distance and just refused to trust people to be adults and do their jobs, even people they previously identified as high performers who they even gave raises to. For my friend, there was really no coming back from this, and she decided to resign, and she wasn't the only one. As far as the bathroom goes, we will not know if it ever gets resolved as all of my friends who still worked there have now moved on. That said, Shara is now the only woman left in the office, and is only there 1 or 2 days a week, so it's probably a non-issue now. Stories number 39. Worst guy in the barracks got assigned to my room. He made me miserable. So I returned the favor. This happened almost 22 years ago, now. I had joined the army, and was in my second phase of training for my job, what's known as AIT. It's where you go after basic training, and is a lot more laid back, but there are still drill sergeants there. They're far more chill than the ones at basic. Anyway, there's a system of gaining more privileges, and because I couldn't take a PT test while my injured legs were recovering, I was stuck at an early phase for too long. I was in a room with another Phase 4 Ranger, and we got along great. Then a brand new kid, straight out of basic, got assigned to our room with us. We were way farther along in our training, so our schedules didn't match up with this new guy. The guy was the biggest, dumbest, ugliest, laziest asshole imaginable, and he thought he was the smartest person in any room. Every night at lights out, he'd listen to 50 Cent on his headphones whacked up so loud that I couldn't hear my own music on my own headphones. Every single morning when he had early duty, he'd never get up and a drill sergeant would beat our door down to go fetch him. He made unbelievable messes in the room, and every single day we'd get in trouble because while my roomie and I were in class, this asshole would come in from whatever casual duty he was on and fuck everything up. Then there'd be extra duty for us every weekend for failing room inspections. I don't know how, but this asshole got boot polish on the fucking bathroom mirror. He'd snatch up our shit and put it in his wall locker out of pure carelessness, and insist that there was no possible way he had it. The one and only time he helped clean the room was when he emptied the garbage can. Once. And he acted like he'd just built the pyramids for us out of pure benevolence the way he went on about how helpful he'd been. And when he wasn't doing all of this, he was picking arguments about what a genius he was. So, we despised him. We'd ask for him to be moved, but the drills would never do it. We wanted to kill the guy. In fact, I still kind of do. Every single day we'd both tell him what a consummate piece of shit he was. Eventually, he came off of casual status and got into class. One of the early parts of that class was land navigation for some reason. And land NAV day meant being out there early. That presented me with an opportunity I'd been waiting for. One of those days when he left a giant mess, he also left his wall locker unsecured. So I looked inside to see if there was anything of note, and there was, the combination to the padlock he used on his wall locker. And the best part is that everyone used the same model and color of crappy masterlock padlock from the PX across the street since it was the only thing available. So I went ahead and swapped my lock out with his, and left for training. When I got back, he was already back and had been for a couple of hours, since it was an early day with an early release for him. This was Arizona in July, and he'd been scrambling all over the land navigation course in the sun. Got back to the barracks to get a shower and change and he was locked out of his shit. Oh boy, he was distraught, just absolutely at the end of his rope over it. I pretended to be helpful and tried to get it open, but to no avail. So I told him he was gonna have to get a drill sergeant to come cut the lock off. So he went to do that. And while he did, I switched his lock back and kicked back on my bed. When he came in with the drill sergeant, he'd been crying. Everyone who was in the vicinity got to watch him totally break down sobbing, I was told. I was sitting on my bed looking suspiciously innocent, and the drill sergeant in question gave me this smirk. She was no dummy, and she knew I had to be behind it. So she said, "Okay, before I cut your lock off, I'm gonna try the combo just to be sure." "What is it?" And he told her and she opened the lock straight away. My roomie and I couldn't contain our glee. His head just dropped and he cried some more. He couldn't believe it. He felt so totally defeated, and humiliated, and worthless right then. This guy was such a high-strung, narcissistic asshole that this little prank totally crushed him. It was glorious. They moved him out the next day, into someone else's room. And that guy, he wanted to murder this idiot as soon as he was moved in. I felt bad for him, but that absolute asshole was out of my hair. And I got to see him cry in the bargain. I never told him that I'd punked him. I told some others. They really enjoyed knowing that, since they all hated his guts too. Within a couple of weeks, I graduated and went on to my next station. This dingleberry didn't follow, he actually was supposed to follow, but needs of the army screwed him out of the super specialized follow-on training. So he got sent straight into the meat grinder. I never saw him again, though, and that's all that matters. I still take more satisfaction in this than even I can believe. Sometimes, you get a chance to get your revenge, and you do it, and it's better than you thought it ever could be. Edited to add, I had my wife and kid living off post, and getting duty on the weekends every week seriously cut into the time I was able to spend with my family. I reamed him over this. He didn't give a fuck. Did I say that I loathed him? I fucking loathed him. When I say I wanted to kill him, I am not exaggerating. He got me extra duty on my son's first birthday. I appealed to a drill and she cut me slack because she knew it wasn't my fault. But yeah, this dude. Absolute shitbag.